2. 1 2 check Chuffy 1 2. 1 2 check Chuffy 1 2. 1 2 check Chuffy 1 2. Hi, you with Scott. I'm battery exhausted. I'm super chuffer on midnight. I'm always super. 20-minute video. Let's see what he's got to say about it. I've got no idea what he's going to say about it. This apparently is a series, part 1. I don't know if we ever got the rest of the series, but let's see what Luke's got to say, because how do I say this? How do I say this? People said it. People in my chat said it's worrisome. It was worrisome. Like this has come up because the whole connection with Peter Folding and the worrying aspect of. So Brian Harvey said that Nicola Bulley was wearing a T-shirt with the Children's Society on it, and that indicated that it was something to do with these like dark people and children and dark stuff going on with children, and there's just a sort of worrying tilt towards people seem to have bringing up children a little bit here and there. When we looked into Eddie Vinylbreak's behaviour on that Mixcloud, it just looked kind of strange, didn't it, that a load of those DJs that were celebrated were also wrapped up in Operation U-Tree. And there was that weird posting pattern by those community on Mixcloud. People suggested to me that my idea that this trafficking coming across the country, and then we saw I was saying about trafficking and the animals and the live animal exports being and I was suggesting drugs, and then someone put that tweet out, didn't they, with that map. We saw it on the episode about Richard Otley, that map. If you haven't seen that, I'll just quickly and it'll just have to be quick because it'll take me forever to do otherwise. The map goes across the country. So this is someone connected up lots of different women who'd gone in the river and where they'd gone in, and it creates this link map across the country following this motorway network. So they might be suggesting there was a serial killer maybe or something going on. Someone's travelling this network and maybe jumping off and doing some killing. I was thinking, well, that kind of corroborates. Obviously, so they put St. Michael's on because Nicola Bulley, but it kind of corroborates the idea that this port could be used up here by Liverpool, Blackpool, and then something could be smuggled and trafficked across the country to then move into mainland Europe, across there. And some people have said, oh, you weren't going to be smuggling drugs into mainland Europe, they'll just ship them straight into Europe. So, maybe, but I think drugs do come into the UK in this way, but do they go out the UK as well? Maybe they do, because maybe it's, assume if they're getting busted in other ways, maybe they do. Or maybe they get flown out, or, maybe, I don't know. It looks like there's a transport network there that goes across and it links the murders, and it goes back to where Nicola Bulley used to live and where they do the live animal exports from, and the port towns that were essentially bought by these very rich people. And I think nowadays you've got what's called free ports that are owned by private companies. So I'd need to look into that. But yeah, it seems like you've got that network and stuff. And people have said, well, it might not be drugs, it might be children or anything. So the children thing came up again. So because of that and those ideas, when we were looking at, or someone suggested I should look at Luke's meeting up with Peter Folding, which I haven't looked at. His big Peter Folding visit and meet up. Apparently his daughter is in the video and he took his daughter on the thing to go and meet Peter Folding and stuff. And I said, well, that, I probably wouldn't have done that myself because, professional meeting with a person I'm going to be discussing a murder case with, my daughter playing around with someone I don't really know. I don't know. But, so now we've got this, which is called Working in a Children's Home Experience Series Part 1 by Luke. And it could be, I'm not saying he's a nonce. I'm not saying that at all. Let's get that clear. I'm just saying with those ideas floating around, I now want to watch this video.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today's weather forecast, it is shit. What I've noticed is that every channel has their own way of kind of getting in, introducing the channel. I've got 3 impressions for you. They'll know this is me being endearing. I'm not taking the mick. Let's see if you can guess who they are. One of them actually says the channel's name in it, so you'll know that one. I'll do that one first. Hi, welcome to Irish Eyes True Crime. And all that crazy music. Number 2, who's this? Hi everybody, and welcome to the kitchen. Who's that?
Rustic Rach.
And again, I speak to these lovely ladies, so all love.
I speak to these lovely ladies. That does worry me a bit. I mean, obviously we've got the Discord, we have chats, and stuff like that. So I get it, like there is that. But there's a bit of a, like, when he said he's going to America, I just wondered whether one of his subscribers had said, you can come and stay at my house. And like, he's just saying, fuck it then, yeah, I will. Like, there's a sort of level of, I'm quite willing to be friends with all of you chuffers, and I'm quite willing to be, chatty. Well, I'm not very chatty on Discord, am I? I'm not. I see that more as a space for the community to be, the community. So there's a sort of, you call it a parasocial relationship that people can develop. Another content creator who's got a channel is one thing, right? But just people who are watching your videos, like, you've got to be careful with the way you understand those boundaries, I think, because I don't want to get too deep into that, do I? I just want to say that, and I think it's obvious, isn't it? Like, he talks to these lovely ladies. It's a bit of an Alan-esque thing to say.
And the third one. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Box. Coming open box. Hello, everybody. Hello. St. Michael's on wire, eh? Bloody hell. Who's that?
I don't know.
Anyway, moving into the video. Today, I start a little series, okay? The series is called My Experience With. First things first, child support worker. I started this job in early 2021. COVID had hit the year before. Chefing had dried up. There was no chefing. Lockdown, unlockdown. You can have a meal, but you need to have a pint with it. All this rubbish. There was no chef work. I went into child support work. I didn't really know what I was letting myself in for, but it was quite an experience. It was eye-opening. It was testing, mentally draining, dangerous, and also rewarding at the same time. The job role was to support the children. They were a variety of ages. They were, I think the youngest was like 9, and they went up to about 16. When they're 16, they become semi-independent, and they can like cook their own food and go out later and all this kind of stuff. My job was to help them with their day-to-day lives, basically. Talk to them, help them with homework and stuff like that.
He said the title says children's home experience, so I assume it's some sort of children's home, but I'm a bit confused about what the setup is, but yeah.
Help them with food and basically being here for them, going to activities with them, basically acting like a kind of parent, really, I suppose, at the end of the day. It has a lot of rewards, but it also brings a lot of stress with it as well. There was 3 different homes that I worked in, and they were almost like different categories. So like prisons have categories, like you have like maximum security, you have like kind of a middle ground, and you can have like an open prison. It was almost like this, unofficially, but it was. One of the homes, I'm not going to name the company I work for, I'm not going to name any of the homes, I'm not going to name the kids, obviously, not going to name any staff. Everything's anonymous. One of the homes was like really quiet, 3 or 4 kids in there, not much drama going on, a little bit boring actually. The second home was kind of in the middle, and it was really big, grand, 2 listed buildings, like a 2-grade building. Really nice, grand house, high ceilings and stained glass windows and all this kind of stuff. There could be quite a bit of drama there. And overall, it was a fairly easy home to work in.
I mean, people are going to say that this feels like the Masons, aren't they? It appears to be raining on his video, yeah. He's in the conservatory again, but like, he's got the black and white things. They've said it and I've poo-pooed it, but like, I can hear the people who believe that stuff, or like, the people who believe that stuff, thinking about that now.
It was a notorious home. I'm going to call it Edgeley Road. It was a notorious home. This is where shit went down. This is where it kicked off. This is where you're up all night, having to sometimes restrain kids because they are kicking off. They want to fight you. They want to hurt you. You've got them running away from home. You've got them staying out all night. You're up on the phone to the police all night.
You have to restrain kids because they want to fight you.
Night. You've got kids trying to manipulate you. You've got them going, oh, do you want a cup of tea? They go and try and make you a cup of tea, but they wouldn't. They'd be running out the back door.
Yeah, right. Sounds interesting. I mean, I'm obliged to pause and react to this because, if I ever want to put it on YouTube, I've got to pause and react to it. Fair use. I'm a bit shocked and I don't really know what to say. And like you said, after I was doing chefing, I just jumped into this. Like, I would have thought you would have had to have some sort of, maybe this like training, maybe it's a quick 6-week training course or something, how to restrain a kid. I'm a bit surprised that you just like don't have qualification. How long does it take to get one of those? I got the, you know, when you do the checks, you know, the CBR check or the CRB check, or whatever it's called, to check that you're not a nonce if you're going to work with kids. I had one of those done when I was a fencing coach. So I remember that I got my coach's badges and I was waiting on this CRB check to come through. Like, obviously we did all the stuff, but that was like that process. I don't know what it's like today and how long it takes or anything, but you know, the time it took to get that before I could do the actual coaching with the, you know, left to be a coach with kids sort of thing in the school environment, officially, you know, with my badges and all that stuff. There was a little bit of time on the CRB check to come back. You know, I had to wait for that to come through the letterbox and, oh, there it is. Okay, got my check. Like, you know, hand that in with the people at school so that they've had that. You know, that was an important part of the process of, like, I was a fencing coach, qualified, but being able to actually do it, you know, you see what I'm saying? So I'm surprised that with COVID 2021, you know, it might have been a process. I didn't explain the process, but it seems like I'm not just Luke here. DBS check, that's it. DBS check, whatever the check is they need, like, you know, for you to do that. Obviously, I did it, didn't I? Because like I was a coach, and but I remember, like I say, that my like the process was we were waiting on that to come back. Like, my point is just that I know that, you know, getting into it, like if I was going to work at Tesco, I could just like jump into the job, do a little bit of training. But I'm surprised, I'm not dissing Luke here, I'm just saying I'm surprised anyone can jump into the job of working in a children's care home, coming in from, I did a bit of chefing, and like how much training and like what qualification and checks and balances are there. Like, well, maybe not as many as I thought there were. I'd have thought you would have done like some sort of qualification in social care to work in that environment. You know, that was my honest, before I knew this, before he said this, I thought the majority of people who worked in children's care homes had done a qualification in social care, whether it be an NVQ or something like that, to give them the grounding. Like, it's not like cutting hair. Like, you need an NVQ to cut hair so you know what you're doing, but you don't have to be licensed to cut hair. But I would have thought to get the job in the children's homes, you would have had to go through a few more hoops than, hi, teach me to restrain them. Like, it's weird. CRB is called DBS. Okay, not yeah, but to me it's weird. I'm not dissing Luke. I'm just like making comment. And also, I'm watching this with a critical eye, of course. And whilst I'm going to say I don't believe that Luke is a nonce, I'm going to say that there's a sort of conversation brewing around the Nicola Bulley case regarding children's safety. Some people think Masons. You know, some people think some extra stuff on that end, and videos like this are going to make them really worry about Luke's connection with the whole thing. I'm a bit like surprised by that, and like I said, I'm going to watch it with a critical eye, because I have to be aware that whilst I think that's a bit extreme, like, you know, extreme things happen. So
you can't turn your back on them in this place, but this was the place where a lot of people did want to work, because this was kind of, you kept on your toes and you're earning your money. I'm going to focus this on two.
Interesting, he says people want to work in the more difficult place because you're earning your money, but I would argue that people would rather work in the quiet place, wouldn't they, where the children are well behaved, where you just like have to make them sandwiches and you're not at threat of violence. So my question, you know, having to restrain children for me would be a very emotionally torrid, like I would, if I was, you know, if someone said to me, you're at work now and you're in this children's home and they are fucking kicking off and it is your job, you grab the legs, I'm grabbing the arms and whatever, you know, I suppose I'd have to step into action and fulfill my role as, this is a bit like being a Nazi guard, isn't it? It's this whole thing about Milgram's experiment to see how far you'd go. I suppose I'd step into action for the safety of everyone and for the safety of the child and do what is appropriate by the rules. But I would feel emotionally like I'm grabbing up this child and I really don't want to have my hands here and doing this, and like, you know, is there not any other way we can go about this other than like the restraining and the sedation? Because I think the child is going to be even more traumatized by the process of being sedated or what did he describe? Restrained. You know, the process of restraining a child. If I was having a tantrum when I was a kid and someone tried to literally fucking tie me to a chair, like, it would make me 10 times more eggy. So I really don't. I saw the Rotherham report today, came out today. Yeah, I did see that. Rain God's good shout. I did. I mean, I don't know exactly what part of the world. I mean, Luke lives in. I'm not trying to dox Luke here. I'm talking generally about this sort of topic. But I'm worried about certain aspects of the Nicola Bulley case that, you know, sit there on the back burner. For me, a bit on the back burner because, you know, they're not my... I'm not, you know, as... But like for Brian Harvey, he was surprised that I brought out animal rights and drug movement. He thought it was children. So, you know, I see that there's other people's thoughts on this. So I think other people would view this video of Luke talking about his experience in the children's home maybe more critically than I do.
Homes that I worked at, Edgeley Road, and there was the Grand House. I'll call it the Grand House. Excuse this rain.
I don't know if legally you are obliged to be anonymous about which place you worked at, but calling it the Grand House, even that is, you know, creepy. You know, giving it a nickname and it having this sort of giant ceilings, big old house, like, you know, it sounds like Mason shit that you're describing. And I get it that these houses, like these buildings that are used for social care, are sometimes old Victorian buildings, but the way you describe it is like the Grand House, like the manor house, with all kids going nuts, being restrained. Oh, there was another thing I wanted to say. People want to work on that shift, do they? Where they have to restrain the kids, yeah? So what kind of people want to work on the most disordered and fractious part of the social care system? In my opinion, the ones that prey on the children. Because if you do something bad to one of those kids on the random in that chaotic environment, like, how are they going to speak out and have their voice heard? And, you know, if you've got a couple of bad eggs in that environment, no wonder the kids are kicking off and trying to run away. Like, it all sounds very, very worrying to me. And I know from testimony from other people that it's not all good times and, you know, pats on the head in those children's homes. Sadism and child abuse goes on in those children's homes. I don't know if it goes on in that children's home, but what he's describing, that chaotic environment and the fact that there are people that want to be, and who's he talking about? These people, the other people that he worked with, I suppose, or did he have other friends that joined him wanting to work there? Or, like, I don't know who these people are that want to work there, but apparently the people want to work there because they're kept on their toes. It's like being a fireman and saying, I want to go to the jobs where all the buildings are burning down. Maybe you don't. Like, I wouldn't. Like, if I was a police person, would I want to have a really busy night with my radio going and lots of heads to crack? Or would I, like, you know, not crack, but you know what I mean, lots of people to arrest? Or would I rather society was peaceful and placid and I had to go out and sort of help someone get their cat down from a high tree? Or, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather me personally, I'd rather the quiet beat. I'd rather, like, not because I'm ignoring the crimes or anything, but because nice people are doing good things. That would be a better world for me. So I don't know why Luke is, like, of the opinion that, I mean, he's telling me, it's his testimony, that these people who work in the care homes that he worked at would rather work in the care homes where things are kicking off. And I am very surprised by that. Yeah. I'm putting on the background music because I need it, because now it's got stressful for me. So I'm putting on the background music. I'm going back to Luke.
So some of the issues that came with these children was there's a girl that had been sex trafficked over here.
Oh my God. No wonder everyone... Am I going to say this or what? Like, no wonder everyone wants to work at the fucking manor where the girl got sex trafficked. They get to restrain her. Don't even start me on this. Don't even start me on this. I feel like, you know, I was making a bit of a joke there, huh? Like, but what? I worry. I'm not saying Luke bad here. I'm saying I worry about the people he said he worked with that wanted to work in that place. Really worried now, because you've had Jersey, you've had, like, other places, you've had Jimmy Savile and his goings on. Like, it's been going on a long time. I'm worried now. Doesn't seem like seems like you can just stop being a chef, get the job here, just go into it. And I would have thought that job would have been for people who, like, I'd have thought the compassionate people who want to help children would have been traumatized by the care home where it's all traumatic and like, Luke's not showing me much signs of trauma for having gone through this process himself. Like, honestly, I feel like if I was to be telling these stories, like whatever he's about to say about this girl, I think I would stop. You know, you saw me cry yesterday or the day before when I read that bit from the Bible about the Good Samaritan. You know, thinking about people who are having a really hard time in life and about being kind to people. You know, wasn't bawling or anything, but you know, it made me, you know, it was emotional. Yeah, but like, I'm not seeing that emotion here. It's just. He might be naive to be talking about this, but like, I want to caution you all about just assuming that he's just like a naive, nice guy and he's just making mistakes, because that could be a wolf in sheep's clothing, couldn't it? You know, it might mitigate the bad behaviour if you're just nice and bumbling, and like Boris Johnson did that in a way, didn't he? You know, he's a bit of a buffoon, but he did some quite mean things, I think. You know, be cautioned about the clown face, because what's underneath the makeup, you know?
She was from another country, she was sex trafficked, and she was quite sexualised, quite young. Really, really sad to see. It does pain you, especially when you have a dog. It makes you more protective over your child, especially when it is a girl, because you see what can go on. This girl was tough, she was hard, but she was above her age. She liked men. She was only about 14. She liked men because she had kind of been sexualized.
What does that mean?
Men. She was only one. This girl was tough. She was hard, but she was above her age. She liked men. She was only about 14. She liked men.
How did she like men? Like, how did she like men? Like, obviously she's not bringing any men back to the care home, is she? She's 14. Like, she's not off out gallivanting with men. I mean, I don't know the setup in these care homes. Again, I'm children's home. This is he's describing, and I'm not. Again, it's not like I'm saying Luke is the man, but now he's told me that there's a bunch of people who really want to work in this care home. They like it because it's chaotic and they're on their toes all night. There's a girl in there who likes men, and she's 14. And like, what? How do you, how, I don't want to go too far down this road in my own thinking because it's starting to make me feel unhappy, but how do you ascertain her likes? Like, why is that on the conversational table? Is it in her file? Are you like, you know, warned of this in advance? I'm worried about our system of social care now. I'm worried about our children's homes more than ever. Like, I don't know if this vlog that Luke has done, this is called Working in a Children's Home Experience Series 1 Part 1 vlog children abuse. I don't know if this is intended to sort of bust the doors open on this and highlight it. I don't know about his tone, I suppose he's just telling me his experience. He's certainly not focused on this and that particular children's home in his content, is he? He wouldn't even name it. I'm worried about the whole system from what he's telling me.
Because she had kind of been sexualised from a young age. Really sad to see. I remember the first shift I ever did. I was sat in the office room and I went in to meet the kids in Edgeley Road. Went in there and this girl was on her phone to a man. And I had a quick peek and she was on the phone to this man and it was a nonce. Do you know what I mean? Went back into the office and I told them, I said, she's on the phone to a man in here. And they're like, yeah, we know about it, but...
What?
There's nothing we can physically do right now about it. We're working on getting him caught. So that became a bit of a mission of mine to get this guy caught. I think in the end, the police did get hold of this guy, so I hope he's inside now. The bastard. Now this girl...
I'll take your word for it. I mean, I'll take your word for it that you tried to get him caught and the police got hold of him and you hope he's inside. how on earth? I've already asked the question. I don't want to ask it again. Like he's elucidated the matter a little more now. I suppose you're not allowed to take a phone off her. What stops you from going and talking to the man directly? You know, what stops you from... Are you allowed to sort of say, like, can you just turn the phone to me for a minute? Hi, where are you? Tell me where you are. Where are you? Where are you? Do you know where he is? Where is he? You know, what stops you from going directly and question... Not you know, I'm on the internet, not being violent or anything, but I'm just like, you know, and saying to the man, this is completely inappropriate. I'm glad he fucking saved her from the nonce on the phone. Because until Luke got there, the nonce on the phone was like, they know about it. Well, he didn't save them. They already knew about it and they were working on it to get the police. So I'm glad the system saved her from the nonce on the phone. But I was a bit worried there that she was talking to a nonce on the phone anyway. Now, I wonder as well, this really makes me wonder. Like, let's say Luke goes into the office and says, she's talking to a nonce on the phone. They say, we know. Like, and he doesn't kick off. Because, you know, if it was me, like, get this, right? If I worked in a kitchen, going back to chefing, and I went in, and there was, like, I don't know, like, dirt in the grease traps. They haven't been cleaned for 2 weeks. And I said, hey, there's dirt in the grease traps. They haven't been cleaned for 2 weeks. And they went, we know. I'd be like, right, well, we're not all just going to... I know you know, but I'm not going to work here with this dirt in these grease traps. I'm not having it. Like, I work in a clean kitchen, so... We're going to clean the grease traps now, yeah? And they'd say, it's not your job, you're just the fucking junior sous chef or the commie chef or whatever. Not sous chef, I never got to that, but, you know, commie chef or whatever. Like, no. And I'd be like, right, but it is my fucking job because I've got standards. So either I work here and we do this job properly, or I leave. I'm not kicking off, like, getting myself the sack on the first day, but I'm not accepting it. Like, I just, you know, that's a kitchen. Like, I wonder if it was some sort of test for Luke. You know, if they say, she's on the phone to a nonce, and then he goes... and does that, and then they like I wonder if it's some sort of test to see if you know, say, oh, I see, you know, do you? Eh? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I wonder if that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a legit thing. I mean, I don't know. My concern as well is I don't know who these people are in the office. You know, there's people that I really trust in the social services department, like really well-meaning, quite often ladies. I think maybe this is just a sort of traditionalist aspect, you know, and it's maybe a wrong thing to say, but, you know, working with children, that sort of stuff, you know. Anyway, like, but I don't know who these people are in the office that were accepting that she was on the phone with the nonce and just letting it happen, and that maybe there are rules. And again, I'm very worried about the children's home situation where children could be 14 and on the phone to adults just in the children's home, like, I just don't know where the boundaries are drawn and rules about what you can and can't do, but it's insane to me. Like, it's absolutely insane. Yorkshire lass, it would have been better if he had said that she was a vulnerable child who showed an affection to men because of the abuse in her past. It should be clear. It should be in her care plan. I work in care. We don't restrain, but I know people who work with aggressive residents who can be aggressive to themselves and others, but you don't tie them to a chair. Right, yeah, he didn't say he tied them to a chair. I was just, like, in my brain, when you say restrain people, I've seen those things in the police where they sit them in the chair and they strap them down, you know. So I don't know what specifics are, but this whole thing is just, like, blowing my mind. Like,
girl, she would often run away from home. People would pick her up, she'd organise it, she'd slip out the front, she'd go missing, and we would often find her in the same address. Her family lived a few miles away, but for whatever reason they couldn't look after her, whether they didn't want to or they couldn't, I don't know. But we'd often find her there, we'd have to go and pick her up, police would have to come, we'd have to get her removed from the house, take her back, cycle would go on again. The thing is though, about children in care, I'm going to go into, like, briefly touch on the staff and how these places are run. In this job, you meet some really, really good staff who are very, very passionate about it. They want to help kids. They want to make a difference. But you do get some staff.
Oh, I was going to say, please don't tell me you. But there's some real wrong uns as well. Please don't tell me that. Fucking hell.
That are there because they just want to watch a film all day. But on the flip side, there's a lot of staff that really do care. They should be getting paid more. The way that it's kind of ran is...
He told us at the start is that he was a chef, and then there was the COVID, so he couldn't get any chef work, so he jumped into this. And that was my first big question: is I thought you would have had to do like a year's worth of qualification in social care to just jump into this and get your CRB DBS checks. And I'm surprised that someone that just come out of a commercial kitchen can step into the children's home. But maybe he did do a lot more stuff. He didn't explain about the process too much. He just said that he didn't work in as a chef because of COVID, so he jumped into this.
And what I learned is that the more issues that these children come with, the more that the home can earn a week. So you get like a weekly kind of payment from the government, or
all right. He's not saying there's bad staff
from that kind of establishment. You get a weekly payment for housing this child. Now, if one comes with sex traffic issues or
targets, finance, they've fucked it up, haven't they? It's that Peter Folding private industry thing again. You get weekly payments for the more children you have, so you're not now, to run your business, so to speak. It's about like collecting those payments and numbers of children. It's, when you turn these things into numbers and payments like that, it doesn't help. I mean, you've got to factor it in. You've got to get paid for the children you have and stuff, but feels like that's an economic thing that's started to twist things. That's bad.
Drug issues, or
you're saying he's probably the cleaner. I mean, he said he had to restrain children,
has like a sexual abusive past, or they've got some special needs, or they've got mental health. There's more money. And I did notice that these kind of children...
I'm going to fill my bottle. Oh. I'm going to fill my bottle. I hope it doesn't say anything too controversial while I'm filling the bottle. Come back.
They were hard. Very hard to deal with, but I found that this particular company wanted children like this because they earn more money. There's a fine line between taking a kid because you really want to look after them and make a difference, or because you're getting more money for them. Not everybody's in it to look after the kids. Some people just want to sit on their ass and make their hourly rate. But there is a few fantastic staff. There was a guy that I got on really well with. He was very, very, very loved by the kids. He probably, if he ever watches this, he knows who he is. He had a very good one-to-one with kids. They respected him and he talked to them on a level. There was one kid, this child was transitioning from female to male. Now, I met this child on my first day, and out of all the kids that I worked with, this kid kind of became like mine.
What? So you've got a political thing against transgenderism, but I would say anyone should caution. It's very difficult, isn't it? Because they're in the children's home, so I suppose you're not their legal guardian, but shouldn't they be more grown up before they transition? Is it transitioning? Does he mean that? Does he mean it? Are they taking hormones and operations, or does he mean that they're just dressing as an alternate gender? I think it's fine for children to explore their identity, but I think we were talking about this trans issue the other day. I think obviously a full gender reassignment, an actual transition, that should be after. Like, I understand though some people want to do it before puberty so they don't have the problem of puberty, and I don't know, but me personally, I think maybe most stuff that big decision on life you have to do when you're 18 plus, don't you? So maybe once you're emancipated and you're grown up, you make that decision. But a child to be doing it seems really fucked up. And then it doesn't seem really fucked up. I mean, yeah, it does kind of seem a bit like fucked up's just a bit of a hard word for me to say. It's like hard terminology. Seems like strange and weird and a little bit like uncomfortable, and I think irresponsible probably to allow that to happen without full adult consent. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's a process that takes a long time. You're right, Dover and Donnie's mom. So, listen, I have seen these outside the box like examples on the telly where I do know from what I've heard from some testimony from people who are trans that the puberty period is very difficult for them, because if you know it before puberty and then you do go through puberty and then you transition afterwards, obviously there's more to deal with, like especially if you're male. In the past you've had eunuchs where, I mean, people have removed, what they used to do in the past was they used to remove the testicles of a young boy so that he'd keep singing in a high-pitched voice because the hormones wouldn't affect him and he'd be a good choir boy like a eunuch. So those concepts exist, and if you were to know early that you wanted to transition from male to female, that would probably be better to do early, because you wouldn't have gone through the hormonal changes. But then you wouldn't know, because you hadn't gone through the hormonal changes, how you would feel. So potentially a dangerous risk. Individuals should have their own freedoms, but it's a very difficult thing when you're talking about children and their ability to make their own decisions and choose, and where those lines are drawn, especially when it's very serious surgery. So I don't think he means the serious surgery aspect. Oh, well, she's in a care home. They are in a care home. So they're not, in a children's home, they're a 14-year-old. They're not going to have the money, and the doctors are not going to be giving them the fucking drugs to transition. This isn't America. Like, they're just going to be dressed alternate gender, aren't they? Like, they're not going to have like the hormones. Anyway, yeah, this is just fucking weird to me. Like, what's going on?
From female to male. Now, I met this child on my first day, and out of all the kids that I worked with, this kid kind of became like mine.
What do you mean it became yours? What? Like, this is... Certainly, you're going to have a better rapport with some children than others, but I would imagine all the teachers in the audience, or anyone that works with children, should know that you kind of have to lay off that, because you're teaching the entire class, and it's not about you've got a special favourite. In fact, creating that special rapport and extra favouritism could make some kids feel like you're not focused on them, they're not the favourite, and it's like an egalitarian approach. They're all the kids in your class. You don't have like a special one, and unless you are assigned in a children's home, this one should be more yours and this one should be more yours and stuff like that. Unless you're assigned it, like, you're on shift work, aren't you? Like, it's not your kid, it's someone that you work in the care home and provide a role, and they are the children that are under your care at that time. So I'm saying care home, I mean children's home every time I say care home, sorry. When did he upload this? October the 20th, 2023. October 20th, 2023.
There was some autism there. This kid was very, very smart. Very, very smart. Spoke well. Had some quite strong autism. Some neglect issues, as they all do. A lot of self-esteem.
When he says he has some quite strong autism, I assume, again, this is access to files, not just, I think he's got some strong autism. Like, Luke is obviously not diagnosing kids with autism, is he? So I'm assuming they've told him, this one has strong autism. And again, it makes me wonder. I'm not saying that Luke's a nonce, and I'm not saying that, I'm very careful about this. I'm also saying there's a percentage, like a very thin percentage of me, that worries about this. So you think what you want to and make your own decisions, because I'm not telling you he's not a nonce either. I'm saying I don't know what the fuck is going on here. Like, I'm assuming he's not a nonce, but then you assume that of everyone, don't you? I mean, fuck. I mean, it sounds like I'm saying he's a nonce now. Oh, I hate it. I hate it. It's a minefield for me, this is. Having normal human thoughts. Then, because my worries are about the system. Like, my worry is, like, okay, so get this. This is how I explain this. Luke said it's a chaotic care home, and there are certain people that relish working there. He said there are some bad ones that just want to sit on their phone. We know that there's sex abuse in children's homes. We've seen it reported, Jersey, other places. We know it's happened in the past. He's described a particular 2 vulnerable children, one of whom has literally been, as he described, I mean, what I think he was trying to say, sexual with men, and another one who, like, autism is of, like, learning difficulty, like, creates this vulnerability. In both of those cases, I would have thought that the person who would be the lead in their care in a children's, like, the lead, do you know what I mean? Like you said, this one was sort of my one. I would have thought that person who fulfills that role, if anyone, have been the main mentor or lead caregiver. Is it giver? The lead, whoever, would have been the most qualified, like, had some sort of qualification in, like, autism's now a specialist thing, isn't it? Like, if you're the care worker. I'm just surprised that like the limit of the system is just like fill in the CV, get the job. Right, this one's got autism. We're going to be dealing with them today. You ready? Like I had to do so much study to just. Like, I didn't have to do the study to become a hairdresser. There's no license, but like I did the study, and I did 3 years at college. Like not all full time. Although I did a couple of. I think I did a year. Did I do a year full time? You know, I did a year on the job as a trainee and all that and all business, but. I'm just thinking about the amount of study and work I put in just to learn how to cut and do hair. And that included the Health and Safety at Work Act. It included the Data Protection Act. It included like my role and responsibility in those areas too. But, you know, salon management and all that. But to just be like, and it's kids that you're working with. Like, even to be a fencing coach and just teach them a bit of sport in the afternoon at my school when I was younger, I had to get a proper certificate, and it took a while to go through the process. I think you probably have to jump through more hoops to be a sport coach to teach them fencing after school than you do to work in a children's home. And so the problem with that, like Luke has said, like I would agree with Luke on this, like he said, right, is that the problem with it is that people can just jump in there, and the people that want to abuse the kids and the predators, there's no stopgap, there's no like keeping them out. Like they just jump in, they give them the jobs. You've had a couple in there that you said, you didn't say they were sex predators, but you said they wanted to just sit and read their phone. But I'm saying other care homes have sex predators in them. But based on the way you're describing the system, I have, me personally as a normal person, have very little doubt that the average sex predator wouldn't try and get into that system and take up a job there, especially in the more chaotic situation where there are girls that prefer men and have learning difficulties and vulnerabilities and can be assigned to you as like, this is your one after a certain amount of time. And it's that trust level. Like as a fencing coach, right, I was already in the club. I was about like 19 or 20, 18, well, probably was a bit younger than that even, 18 or 19. You know, I was already friends with a lot of these people that are in my fencing club, yeah? But when we did the class, when it was just the school class, like, I'm not trying to be friends with any of these kids in a school class. Like, what I mean by the fencing club is that there were lots of people who were younger than me in the fencing club, you know, peers of mine, younger people from school. Like, the fencing club itself, we're all friends. Like, even if they're younger, older, whatever, we're all a group of fencers, we're friends, yeah? But in the school class that you teach, like, none of them are my friends. Like, and none of them are going to become more my one. And, like, you know, there's a sort of professionalism boundary level, isn't there, that it's just like we're teaching the kids, and like I worry about the sort of like the implication of this sort of I mean, maybe I'm misdiagnosing this, you know, maybe there are some very, very switched on and alert managers, and they're the sort of ladies who, you know, I really respect. And not just ladies, they could be men as well, I'm saying. But, you know, I just picture certain ladies that I know in my life that have been in this system, working in like this sort of role. And I know who I would like hope was in charge of it and stuff. So, because this seems very, very, like the whole setup seems very, very worrisome to me.
Team issues and issues with their own person because they wanted to be male. Now, when I met this kid...
Yeah, so what I was saying is that the problem Luke is telling me is that people who want to work in those care homes could be wrong, and it's like, he's sort of said that, hasn't he? Like, I don't know if he has or we've agreed it in chat, but some people might want to just jump in there and abuse that system. And like when it was COVID, I was a carer for my nan, so I did work in the care system, but for a family member, you know, I wasn't out there just randomly going around like the helping hands people who did come in and help me. So it worries me that I don't know what I mean, what I'm trying to say, really. It's like Luke has told me that bad people jumped into this job or I think bad people could potentially jump into this job, and Luke's told me he chose to just jump into this job. So maybe it was the job centre suggested it to him, and, you know, I'm interested in his motivation to jump into this job with apropos of nothing, no qualification or anything. because they're the sort of people that, from what we're hearing, might be bad people. Do you know what I mean?
They had really, really long hair, like down to the middle of the back.
When I worked as Rain Gods, you need the DBS even to do the chef work in a care home. Yeah, I did work as a cook in an old people's home, and I agree. I already had my old DPS, and because I've been a fencing, I took that to the interview, but they didn't want it. They had to do another one for me, but they did let me work there in the kitchen as the, on my, what do you call it? I don't want to say parole, that's the wrong word, isn't it? You know, when you work a job for a few weeks before you get the job, that thing. When I was doing that, it was like a 2-week, 3-week period of, what's the name when you do that? Trial. Yeah, trial maybe. Yeah. We'll say trial. I don't know if it's the right word. Like probationary period, I think is the right word, but then it sounds like I'm a criminal. But like, you're not officially got the job, but you're working before all the ticks and boxes, and at the end of the process, they gave me the, yes, your CV check has come through, yes, you've got the job, sort of thing. It was one of the boxes that had to be ticked. So I completely agree. Yeah, I worked as the cook in a old people's care home, and yeah, that happened. Yeah.
Formed a relationship quite quick. I thought, like, if this kid wants to do this, then I'll help this kid do it.
Sorry, what?
Quick. I thought, like, if this kid wants to do this, then I'll help this kid do it.
Do what? Start that again.
Person, because they wanted to be male. Now, when I met this kid, they had really, really long hair, like down to the middle of the back, and we formed a relationship quite quick. I thought, like, if this kid wants to do this, then I'll help this kid do it. When I first met this kid and we hit it off straight away, he used to, when he saw me, go, "Yes, my G," like that, and we had this kind of like respect thing. And I got to know that he wanted to be a male and he felt like a male, and I was like, well, let's go and get your hair cut then. And then he said to me that he's been asking to get his hair cut for a very...
What? I thought that you were politically against Sam Smith and the Them Brigade because of the video that we critiqued earlier that was very pointedly targeted at that sort of thing. But now you're calling this, I'm assuming 14-year-old and younger. I don't know how old the kids are. I'll guess 14 because he said the other one was. This child, you're attributing the pronoun that they choose, he rather than she, and you're going to take them to cut off their hair. I mean, in the modern world, young people can have short haircuts. That is absolutely fine. I think this is so fucking weird. I want Val on this, Val the hairdresser. That's the only other person I want to ask about this. I need Val the hairdresser's opinion. If someone came into your salon, they were from a children's home, like, would you know? I suppose he might say, like, if this Luke brings in a young child to your hairdressing salon, and they want all their hair cut. Like, it's a big. If any child wanted all their hair cut off, I'm going to talk them through it. I'm going to have a big. I'm not going to do it on the day as well. That's not going to happen because I'd want to. Well, I'd probably get them a wig. Like, I've had a few wigs in the salon, like, different styles. I didn't have loads. I probably didn't have many. Actually, probably had one. But we cut them sometimes and stuff. But dummy heads, stuff like that. But I'd probably get wig. I've always said I should have had lots of wigs with different colours. This would have been the moment. I'd have said, wait. Okay, what we'll do is we'll get you a wig. We'll show you what the haircut looks like. We'll talk. We'll talk about it. We'll get the pictures. Come back. We'll book you in next week. Because I'm busy now. That's the way I'd say it. I wouldn't refuse it, but I'd say we'll put you in next week because I'm busy now, and get all the stuff together. And when you come for that appointment, make sure you've got lots of pictures on what you want it to look like and all this. Because in that week, they can think about it, and they get the pictures and they think about it, and they look. I might not be able to give them a wig, but you know what I mean. I'd pin the hair up like that and look and talk about it. And then when they came in for the appointment, if they were still into it and everything was above board and the parents had talked about it, I'd probably even, if it was like a 14-year-old, I might be inclined to say, and have you got the number that I can contact, to get in case the appointment? And I might even give the parents a ring and say, hey, we've got Becky in for a appointment to have her haircut really short. I just wanted to check that everything's okay with that because she's booked it. Do you know what I mean? Like a normal person would. I'm a bit surprised about this whole process. Like, it's not a problem that a young person wants to have a drastic change in their style. It is a bit of a problem when you're the children's home worker who's taking them into town to get a drastic identity change haircut all chopped off. I don't know what's going on.
A long time, and no one's bothered to do it. This is
Like, in a way, you could argue this is really nice of him. Like, this is that kid's identity. They're telling him, this is what I want. I really want a pair of red shoes. I really want a pair of red shoes. Right, I'll take you into town and buy you a pair. No, that's completely inappropriate, isn't it? I work at the care home. I'm not going to just buy you anything in town. I'll say this: I bought presents for my stylists and the young people that worked in my salon. I bought them McDonald's and stuff now, thinking, you know, I gave everyone lunch all the time. Did once let a girl buy a T-shirt from a shop once. Like, I took the stylist. Also, I took 2 stylists to TK Maxx and Matalan, and we took, like, they bought T-shirts, jackets, and stuff, and I got it branded with my logos. But I don't know, like, if this is appropriate. Now I've said it like that. If it was a pair of red shoes, or if it was a thing, like, I mean, children have to get their hair cut though, don't they? I don't know. And I tell you why I don't know, because I'm not qualified to work in the fucking social services. These are the kind of ethical conversations that you need to have been discussed in a classroom environment, in a conversation about ethics and boundaries, before you go and work in the children's home.
Staff. He asked staff if he'd get his hair cut, and yeah, we'll get it sorted, but he didn't get it sorted. So I made that my first job. I went and took him to get his hair cut at the barber up the road.
Did you ask the other staff, like the management? Because if they'd said, yeah, we'll get it sorted, they might have had a plan in place, like I was saying, about stalling, about buying time, about seeing if they really want it, you know, about giving the young person time to sort of explore the idea without having the drastic change. Even as a responsible hairdresser, for any young person, I would have done that. You don't sit down and say, I want my... Any adult comes in and says, I want my head completely shaved. I've got lovely long hair, I want my head completely shaved. I'd say, well, exactly the same process. I'm a bit busy now. I don't look busy now, but I've got a client coming in 10 minutes. Honestly, I can't do it now, but I'll book you in. If you're really desperate, you can go to the barber down the road and they'll just fucking scalp you. But I'm a little more professional than that. I want to make sure that... I'd probably say this to the adult. I want to make sure you're really certain you want this done and it's not a whim. Like, it's like getting a tattoo. You're having all your hair cut off. Like, Jesus.
Told the barber the crack. And I
Sorry
saw
for
this
blaspheming. Sorry for blaspheming.
Hair come off to as short as mine is here, really. And the smile on his face, I did say, like, you need to be sure about this because there's a lot of hair coming off. And he was like, yeah, I'm sure. And when the hair came off, I could see.
Yeah, but yeah, he's going to say, but giving them the time to be sure, and like the other confirmations, like, there's different ways of confirming things with young people, especially if they're vulnerable. I don't know if this was the one with the autism or not, but like with autism, I know that, for example, because I had a client who was autistic and I cut his hair, and the first couple of times I cut his hair, we didn't even cut his hair. I just got the clippers out, put them on my face, put them on my hands, put them on his hand a little bit, put them on my hands. You know, we just got used to the clippers for about 20 minutes to an hour. Like, no, it didn't take an hour, but, you know, I did that. Then his mother brought him back another time and we did, like, sitting in the chair and looking in the mirror and, you know, didn't cut his hair. And, like getting used to the process was really important. The way that you can get a response is like, you can say, do you want your hair cut? And they might go, yeah. And then you say, do you want your hair cut? And they might say, yeah. And they might not mean it, but they might be responding with what you think. So then you say, what happens if you get your hair cut? Would you like that? They might say no. Or like you reframe the question. I can't exactly remember how to do this. Like, what do you want to do with your hair? I want to cut it. I want to cut it off. Like, then you know that you've reframed the question. They've at least understood the language and rephrased it back to you in certain ways. And there's different ways of sort of getting this confirmation, like, you know, over a period of time to make sure that they are certain on their decision and not just, we're sat in the chair now, do you agree or not? Yes, right, let's do it. But
see him in the mirror and he was absolutely buzzing. He was over the moon with it.
And what it does is it creates this other aspect where, like, he goes back to the children's home. I'm going to use the pronouns he's choosing, whatever, don't care. Goes back to the children's home, and it's a big thing that's just happened. Like, Luke has just took me out, and I've done this big change, and all the other children see it. And, like, it creates these other problems, doesn't it? Like, I mean, I think they should all be getting their haircut. They should all probably be allowed to have the haircut they want as well, really. Although, because it's about this gender dysphoria issue, and because it's with someone who's vulnerable, and because it's a children's home, and because you work there full-time, part-time, shift work, I don't know, and this is your child now, you said, it's like your one, and the other team members had not done this despite being asked to do it. I've got so many worries, but maybe it's me being worried because I'm the sort of worrisome sort, aren't I? You know, I'm the sort of person that has worries about people like Luke because of all the other stuff he said about Sam Smith and about, like, you know, yeah, I just...
which made me very, very, very happy. So I made a big impact on this child, and I'm taking the story somewhere where it kind of shocked me to how it kind of ended with this kid.
How it kind of ended with the kid, right? I will find out in a minute. But what I would say is that making a big impact on a child and then not being there for them in the rest of their life is a bit of a, you know, maybe you want to temper the impact you make on them. I mean, I would hope that I made a good impact on all of the kids in the fencing class and you know, the young people that have been sort of through my chair as a hairdresser and stuff. I hope to make a positive impact, but like I'm not there as like their guardian mentor and then just like, sorry, I've got a new job now, so not going to do that for you anymore. You have to be careful about their expectations.
And it made me realise that you can't really trust anybody too much. This kid and me, we had a lot of one-to-one work. I taught this kid playing pool. They really enjoyed it. We made it a regular thing. I'd help them do some cooking.
What's a lot of one-to-one work? Playing pool, cooking. Like, where is this happening? Is playing pool happening outside? Do they have a pool table at the children's home? Is this happening in an establishment where alcohol is served? Are you drinking alcohol while you're playing pool? I've got so many questions, and like, isn't that the exact sort of space that predators can utilise the sort of gaps to, like, you know, I've got another question as well. Is this before you, like, I'm led to understand from what I can understand from what Luke's told me on his content that he's got a young child and he's estranged from his partner, so he doesn't live with his partner and the young child, he visits them sometimes. That's what I understand. And just because I'm going on what most single parent families are like, I'm assuming the child lives with the mother and Luke visits them sometimes, yeah? So was that the case? You know, were you living as a single male and spending your is it free time that you're doing this in, or is this part of your job? Like, do you take the kid out to play pool during work hours when you're working at the care home? Like, do you get paid to play pool with the kids out? Do you need to take them out to do that, or is it in the care home? Because if, like, this is not just Luke. I mean, Luke is the person who's done this and he's making the video about it, yeah? But I've got questions about the entire system, that anyone could do this with a child in the children's home. I keep saying care home, I mean children's home. Do you think that really happened to him? Is he copying the story off someone else? I'm not doing a body language analysis on it. I'm just listening to what he's telling me and being shocked. And I've got an iron in the fire on Luke, which is that I think he's shifty and deceitful. So I could do a body language read on it. I certainly hope that, you know, maybe I should record this whole video once I'm done, because he might delete it. But obviously we've got this recording of it, and I could attempt to piece together a body language read on it. I'm just, at the moment, I'm just really thrown. I've just really got like a big problem about it. Like, whether it's the problem with Luke specific or the system entire that allows this. Like, I'm very, you know, maybe the thing is, he's just giving me bare bones information. It could be really fine. Like, it could be they go out with the kids as a sort of pool, like there's like a local pool hall and they have, like, you know, a kids evening, and they take them down there, and, like, you know, it's very organised, and, like, you know, it could be a structured environment, or like, but on the other side, what could be a worrying environment is that if you just take them for a go out and a day out to the, you know, just taking the kids out from the facility, I don't want to say facility, and that whether you, and my question there is, like I said, whether you do that in your free time or whether you do it as, like, because if you're paid to work at a place, don't you have to be there to watch all these other kids, and, like, when things kick off and on your shift, don't you have to, like, be there? Is this a story he's using to cover something he said in the past about bisexual and gay people? Well, he left the Sam Smith video up. This video came after the Sam Smith video, but they were both still up at the same time. So it contradicts what he said about the Sam Smith video in ways, but this was posted after the Sam Smith video as far as I remember. Obviously the Sam Smith video is now deleted, so I can't see exactly when it was posted, but I think this was posted after. But not as like a sort of, like, no one was critiquing his content at that time. Like, no, I hadn't, you know, he wasn't on my radar, so to speak, and like there was no necessity for him to sort of balance his point. And so he hasn't used this as to mention Sam Smith in any way. So I don't think it's that related to it. It's just fucking weird.
We had a lot of one-to-one work. I taught this kid playing pool. They really enjoyed it. We made it a regular thing. I'd help them do some cooking. They wanted me to be their key worker, so I became their kind of go-to guy.
Right, listen. They wanted me to be their key worker. That's the word I was looking for, key worker. So I became their sort of go-to guy. Does that mean you became their key worker or not? And should the child be allowed to choose which adult they want as a key worker based on whether that adult takes them to play pool and have their hair cut? Like,
I never stayed.
I want to quickly share what for me has been a hugely positive habit, and that's speaking to a therapist using BetterHelp.
Well, that's the most appropriate advert I've ever seen.
Long enough for that to happen. Though it probably, they wanted me to be their key worker, so I became their kind of go-to guy. I never stayed long enough for that to happen.
Which is a shame, isn't it? Because now you've created this sort of special bond and you're just not going to be there for them and they're going to feel really bad. So that's implicit in the system, I suppose. It's not your fault. Although you could have maybe been aware that it might happen and caution the you know, I'm here to help you. I'm here as a, you know, worker in this establishment, but I'm not going to be able to be your sort of true mentor in this, you know, maybe, you know, careful caution there. I don't know, or maybe you have to then follow up and be their mentor after hours. Like, do you still see this child? Do you still have access? Like, here's a question. When you started the job, there was a man on the phone to the girl, wasn't there? You went and started, and you were like, I can't believe this girl's on this phone to this man. Now you're not still in, now you've left the job. Can you call the people in the children's home and be the man on the phone? Like, is that possible? Like,
though it probably would have. But I was a support to this kid.
I'm not saying Luke is doing that. I'm just saying how to, like, I was confused about when he said that story about the 14-year-old girl and the man on the phone. I was like, where has she got contact with this man? Like, now he was saying that she, you know, that she'd run off all the time, so it's probably from there. But there's another possibility, isn't it, that it could have been her previous key worker who left. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what's going on here in these fucking places?
I had the most patience with this kid. A lot of kids would kind of magnetise to certain staff, and certain staff would...
A lot of kids would magnetise to certain staff. I mean, that doesn't sound good, does it? This sounds like what they said about Jimmy Savile and whatever before that went on. Like,
be able to cope with certain kids better than other staff would.
But I do agree that certain staff members would cope with other kids better. And again, I would hope that it's the sort of more maternal figures that this is happening with, and not the sort of... not the men. But that might be me being sexist. I don't know. Like, men can work in education, men can work in children's homes. Like, it was levelled, wasn't it, Alan Vinicum that said that, like, he thought that men wanting to be teachers was dodgy, and I was like, no, it's not. Like, men make really good teachers. You're not a pervert because you want to help children. But Luke's explained that the whole system, from what I've learned from Luke's explanation, the whole system seems ripe for exploitation by predators.
Anyway, after like a few months of being there and doing all the work I did with this kid and the progression, and went out and got like boys' clothes and kept up with the haircuts, you know, gave them a lot of support and stuff like that. They were subject to a bit of bullying in the home, and you know, I helped with that. You think they trust you? You think you can trust them? And then one night...
You think they trust you, you think you can trust them. I mean, you are in a position of trust in this case.
This kid just decided to absolutely kick off, and me and another staff member could hear some commotion after bedtime. They go to bed about between 9 and 10, if memory serves me right. A lot of the time these kids decided to wait until 9, 10 o'clock at night before they kicked off. So we heard this kid kicking off in his room, went in there and, you know, asked what was going on. You've always...
So, without a real deep knowledge of child behaviour, yeah? Like, because that could be a cry for attention, it could be a cry for help, it could be a serious issue. You know, obviously this child, in my opinion, I'm just going on what Luke's telling me, okay? But this child, in my opinion, has this bond with Luke, wants Luke's attention. Like, Luke gives them the special attention. And they're not getting that. They're going to bed at 9 o'clock like everyone else. But they could kick off a tantrum and then Luke's going to come in their room. So this seems really a bit iffy as a system. And, like, some deeper knowledge in child behaviour might teach you, like, brief you, prep you, you know, don't fall into this trap, don't have this going on. And again, I'm not saying it's Luke's fault. And a lot of people do think Luke is just naive, innocent, and well-meaning, but gets himself into these strange situations. And I'm saying, don't, you know, be cautious of the wolf in sheep's clothing. Yeah. But the whole system, I'm not saying Luke is at fault here, because if that's his job and they've said go in that room, like, but you're going in the bedroom. I suppose at some point in the children's home system, kicks off in the bedrooms, doesn't it? So now is it just you? How many people are in the bedroom? Is it just you, this other man or woman or person, and the child? Is that what's happening now? Like, what's going on? A lot of you in chat are saying it's about confidentiality. Like, obviously, I can tell you what happened in fencing class. I don't think anyone signed any confidentiality agreements there. But I don't know. Again, I'm not educated enough to know what whether it's an ethical perspective of confidentiality or a legal perspective of confidentiality, or whether these things should be talked about. Like, in some way, I feel like we're nearly, like, this could be presented as a video where we're exposing the worst behaviour in care homes, and we're calling time on the bullies and the nonces and stuff like that. And he alluded to something like that when he said, like, well, this girl was on the phone to this man and we tried to sort that out. But it doesn't feel completely like that to me, does it? Like, the tone is a bit ambiguous to me. Like, sometimes Luke's describing things that I think are bad, and sometimes he's the one doing the things that I think are ambiguously, like, questionable. So he's not naming anybody, that's true. And he alluded to where this place was, this big mansion house style I would say mansion house, maybe he said a different word, this big high ceiling building with all these, he alluded to the name, but he didn't say exactly where it was. Yeah,
you need two staff to go in a room, you never want to go in on your own. So we went into this room, me and another staff member. This was my kid. So I'm saying, what's up, what's going on, blah blah blah. Next thing, swings for me, punches me. Couldn't believe it. So then you have to use restraint training, which you never want to use. So I'm saying to this kid, right, like, calm down, I do not want to restrain you.
Restraint training, so they've had training.
It's all this, like, you kind of like put your hand over theirs and stop them from moving and put it around the back. You don't want to do it. Sometimes, if you're getting attacked, you have to, and you're encouraged to do it.
Is it? You have to, and you're encouraged to do it. Now, again, this is where I will give Luke the credit of being a human that's naive, because just quickly, because I talk about it, but I just, this is the right time to sort of show it quickly again. Milgram experiment. So what happens is, well, I'll just show you.
A decade earlier, psychologist Stanley Milgram had also looked at how we respond to authority.
This bit might get me copyright and end up clipped out of the eventual YouTube cut, though.
In order to understand how people were induced to obey unjust regimes and participate in atrocities such as the Holocaust, he set up an experiment. Volunteers were told they were taking part in scientific research to improve memory.
Would you open those and tell me which of you is which, please? Teacher. Where? Teacher.
Separated by a screen, the teacher would ask the learner questions in a word game and administer an electric shock when the answer was incorrect.
I'm just going to have
he was told to increase the voltage with each wrong answer.
Cloud. Horse. Rock. House. Answer. Wrong. 150 volts. Answer. Horse.
Experiment, that's all. Get me out of here. Get me out of here, please.
Continue, please. Go right on.
I refuse to go in. Let me out.
He refuses to go in. The experiment requires you continue, teacher. Please continue.
Participants didn't know that the learner was really an actor and the so-called shocks harmless.
You're gonna get a shock. 180 volts.
Ow! I can't stand the pain. Let me out of
You
here.
can't stand it. I'm not gonna kill that man there. I mean, who's gonna take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman? I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please. All right, next one. Slow. Walk, dance, truck, music.
Two-thirds of volunteers were prepared to administer a potentially fatal electric shock when encouraged to do so.
Can you believe it? This is because what Milgram wanted to know is what was going on. Nazi Germany, they put them in the gas chamber. How could they do that? You know, just following orders. Well, do people just follow orders then? And if the man in the white coat that's running the experiment tells you to, you will, two-thirds of, and I'm saying you know, we, us humans, this is an experiment done on people. So two-thirds of people, it turns out, would administer lethal electric shocks to a stranger because they got the question wrong and the doctor told them they had to.
By what they perceived as a legitimate authority figure. In this case, a man in a white coat.
375 volts.
375 volts. You know, he goes up to 240 on power, does it? 375 volts. You ready? He does it quick.
Something's happened to that fellow in there. I don't get no answer.
I'm not getting an answer. He's worried he's killed him.
He was hollering for less voltage. Can't you check in and see if he's all right, please?
But he pressed the fucking button, didn't he? So, like, in one way, I will, like, you know, give Luke the benefit of the doubt here, is that, like, they've told you you've got to restrain the kid. They've taught you how to restrain the kid. So you're just following orders and you're going to go and restrain the kid. Maybe it's the right thing to do in certain situations, but I'm not in the care system. I'm not in the children's home system. I don't know if it's, you know, obviously there are some situations where they feel it's necessary. I've never been restrained as a child, I don't think. Like, you know, I think I've had a couple of tantrums, but I don't know if I've been restrained. And I certainly know that at times where you feel like you are, like, you know, you feel very, very furious and frustrated. And it's got to be traumatic for both, like I said earlier, child and restrainer. So, very strange to me that you've got restraining, like, just this whole thing going into the, he's saying he all the time, but this is a 14-year-old child or younger, maybe, you know, this is a child, whatever the age is that he said it is. He didn't say it is, but he's saying he because their preferred pronoun is he, and they're transitioning, apparently. But it's legally, officially on the form, him and another staff member have gone into the bedroom of a girl, and now they're having well, they're not having a fight, they're going to restrain her.
And
oh yeah, Zimbardo, big ups, Eddie. Yeah, Zimbardo as well. Yeah, big ups.
I said to this kid, like, what's up? Why'd you hit me? And they did it again. And they had to get
One of these days, I'll have a sociology show on the go. Me and
restrained. Why'd you hit me? And they did it again. And they had to get restrained. So from about 10 o'clock at night until about 4 o'clock in the morning, this kid was on the floor and I had my hands on their legs.
What? From 10 o'clock at night, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, which I assume is when you leave your shift, 6 hours you spent lying on the floor restraining this child.
And there was another staff member holding their arms down, and it's not
For 6 hours? Like, I might be wrong, right? But could you have left the room? Like, they punched you in the face, and then you spent 6 hours lying on top of them. And there was no other, this was the... Like, I've been in some rows with my sister, yeah, and because I'm not allowed to hit my sister, like, you know, when I was a kid I'm talking about, all the way up to, like, you know, teenagers, we had rows, not allowed to hit my sister. There have been times where I've thought, fucking hell, she's going to murder me, and, like, what do I do? And once I pushed her in the bathroom and held the door, and I got my dad, I think I had to ring him on the mobile, Dad, can you help? she's going mad. She's really cross. Like that's trapping her in a room, but like that's the worst I've ever come to. Like thinking about this sort of situation. Like she was furious. I was like, Dad's gonna come, then I'll let you out so that you don't murder me. You know what I mean? Like, like I need a third party before I could. Like, I was scared you're gonna, because she was punching me. And it's all right. It's family stuff. It's squabbles with like me and my sister have a really good relationship, and I'm sure that we, whatever. But I'm not throwing her under the bus there. We were young and squabbling, and you know what I mean. Like, but I feel like I had limited resources as a man to deal with any once when I was a school child as well. Right, this is when I was about 14, I think. We were in McDonald's. And there was me and my mates with our uniforms, and some girls from a different school, from a different school, and they were in their uniforms, and we were like, oh, let's have a talk to the girls. But they didn't take too kindly to us. They were a bit eggy, in fact, and a bit kind of like bullies, I suppose. And one of them actually grabbed me by my shirt and was like, hey, you're fucking this and that. And I was like, this is a real situation, because there's nothing I can do. Like, she can ragdoll me around by my shirt, and I can't touch her or hurt her or anything. Like, just nothing I can do. And so confrontation with a female from my perspective, and he's saying it's a man, but obviously legally it was a girl. I personally feel to retreat. If they're really angry, maybe close the door. I don't know why. Maybe it's not the right thing to do, is to have, if she hit you in the face, to back out from the room and close the door and call in some other people to try and neutralise the situation. And you yourself, who's been directly in the line of fire, to extricate yourself and say, right, it's me you're cross at, you've hit me in the face, I'm just a member of the staff. So a different member of the staff is going to deal with you, and I'm going to go away. Because it feels like that would de-escalate the conflict. But that's not what happened. Instead, him and somebody else got on top of her and stayed there for 6 hours. And that's a feat in itself, lying down on top of someone for 6 hours. I mean, what was she doing? Screaming and yelling? And what did all the other kids think was happening while you were on top of her for 6 hours in the room? Were there other people in the room? Not just your your colleague, but other kids? Is it a dorm, or do they have individual rooms? And is it possible that two members of staff could go into a young girl's room in a care home, children's home, and spend 6 hours with her screaming and yelling and doing whatever, and other members of staff don't come and... I mean, were there other members of staff dealing with it? Is it just to accept, did no one else come? Can you get away with sort of going in one of the children's rooms and having them screaming and yelling for hours all night? This whole situation to me is fucking I hate it all. People in chat are saying they don't even believe it. I don't know what's going on. I thought I was just going to pause and make comment every now and then, because kind of have to, but just wanted to record the video for posterity in case he deletes it. But instead it's gone down this road, and I didn't know this was what he was going to talk about. I've never listened to this video before. I just thought, this is on the list of innocuous videos on Luke's channel. What the fuck?
Not nice. It's not a nice thing to do. You don't want to do it. You want to do it as professionally as possible. You don't want anyone to get hurt, but you don't want to get hurt.
But is it professionally acceptable to be lying on top of someone for 6 hours? That whole thing,
And this went on for 6 hours, and
And is it in front of the other kids, or is it in a private environment? Red Fan, that's another question. I've got more questions than answers with this, rather than this is my honest reaction. So just everyone's just gonna have to deal with it. I don't know if this is gonna go. This might end up as members content on. I don't know what it's gonna be. It doesn't feel like a very good battery exhausted episode, does it? It just feels like, what the fuck's going on? And it moves from a position where I'm exposing Luke for his behaviour and his I'm trying to this is throwing me as a social commentator on YouTube, as someone who comments on what other people are doing on the YouTubes, as Luke's come up with the Peter Folding stuff and and all that. I've been critiquing his content, in some ways character a little bit, but mainly his content. And I've not lowered myself to ad hominem attacks or picking on him because this or that. I've not picked on his ears or anything like that. I'm being about the content stuff. This is the content, and this is his behaviour and stuff he's done, and he's saying he's done it. So that's where I'm coming at this. But I feel like the way I sound talking and what I can hear myself saying and what this video is about, I feel like I'm sort of, I could look like I'm trolling him to try and make him look like a nonce. But that's not me doing that. This video is like that, and my critique, I hope, doesn't come across as trolling here. Like, I really hope that people understand my legitimate concerns with the things that he's saying and describing. And a lot of the time, I'm not able to sort of say I'm concerned about Luke specifically. I think I'm concerned about the system, where if I worked in a children's home and I heard a load of screaming and yelling from one of the rooms, and someone said to me, oh, Luke and so-and-so are in there with that girl, she's being held down, so don't worry. And I was like, well, it doesn't sound like you know, that whole thing for me would be like what the fuck? Like, take Luke out of it, you know, Trevor and so-and-so are in that room with that girl and they're holding her down. I'd be like, are they? Because can we check that they're not doing something else? Because you hear bad things go on in these homes. Do you know what I mean? Like, but then put Luke in it. He is the person that is doing this and said he's doing it. So maybe he's just following orders. But I don't think I could do that. I just don't think I could. I don't know if... Like, I think after hour 2, I'd be like, this isn't going well. Like, I think after 20 minutes, I'd be like, you know, if she's not going to calm down, maybe we have to get up, because it's making her worse. Like I explained, I think if it's making, like, when I'm in a conflict with someone and I feel like my behaviour is making it worse, I get a bit worried, especially if there's someone I love and I care about, like my sister, like I was describing, you know, and I kind of want to de-escalate sometimes. You know, you have the rows sometimes with your family, don't you? That's the only other context I can picture this in, because, like, if it was a row with a person in public, you know, I'd just be able to just walk away, wouldn't I? But, like, you can't, you know, you live in the same house as your family, don't you? So you sort of sometimes have had rows with your family. I mean, just... 6 hours, yeah.
10 minutes or so, I'd say, right, you calm down now. Do you want to get up? And then this kid was saying, yeah, I'll get up, then I'll kick you in the balls. So then you have to stay on the floor for a bit. And this went on all night, and it's draining, it's tough. And then you...
Okay, so they weren't screaming and yelling, but they were just saying they were going to attack you if you let them up, so you wouldn't let them up. I mean, that's a fucking stupid impasse, isn't it? Mexican standoff. Is that the word for it? A Mexican standoff where they've got the guns all pointed at each other? Don't want to be racist. Yeah, a Mexican standoff, like, where they've all got the guns pointed at each other.
We'll put down our weaponry on a count of 3.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah! Andy revealed himself to be a double agent.
We're going back to this sort of Mexican standoff now, where we're lying on top of someone for 6 hours until they decide they won't say they're going to kick us in the balls if we let them up. But we're adults and we work in the children's home, and we're going to lie down on someone until they decide that they're going to just concede. It's like, that would, like that can't be right. That's going to cause more problems than it's going to... Like, it's going to create more problems than it's going to fix. Like, it's like being a prison guard to these children, and the rage and the frustration they're going to feel like of being forced by the system, you know, by the institution to... It's institutionalizing. It's like forced institutionalization. Like, you will do what you are fucking told, or I will literally not get off your body. Like, you have no free autonomy over your body until you decide to do what I am telling you. Like, this is just insanity to me. And maybe it is what goes on in children's homes, but I do not like this. And I mean, maybe it's not... I mean, Luke's telling us, so I'm going on Luke's testimony, it's something that he's done. So, I don't know what to make of that. There's a lot of different comments going on over my head in chat, and like, a lot of different thoughts. Like, it feels like they might be my thoughts just going through my head above me here, because I've got lots of things going through my head that I'm like, what the fuck? It's a real what the fuck moment for me.
This morning to do a 14-hour day. So you've done a 14-hour day the day before, then you're up all night, and then you've got a 14-hour day the day after. This is...
What? You're not... That's not legally... No, you can't do split shifts like that. Like, what? Are you up all night in your day off? Like, in your free time? Are you doing this in your off-shift time? like legally you have split shifts. I'm like, honestly, it's like legal because of dangerous workplace. Like, you can't do certain shifts back to back. And I'm talking about when I was a chef or a waiter working in a call center, that you couldn't do too many split shifts. But you're saying they had you 14 hours in the day, and then you're up all night lying on top of one of the kids, and then you're there the next day 14 hours. When do you go home and go to bed?
It's like mentally and physically very, very draining. In the end, this was going on for that long. It took another kid to come into the room to...
Oh my God. It's...
basically say, stop attacking the staff. Stop it now. And this kid was like, I'll hit you. You don't want that. You don't encourage it. But that was
Well, what did you do about that? You don't want it and you don't encourage it. Another child came in and threatened the person that you were lying down on top of with violence.
But calm this kid down that was attacking me.
You wanted to calm the kid down, but it seems like lying down on top of them was making them agitated.
And eventually, they calmed down and they got back in their bed.
Eventually, they calmed down and got back in their bed. That must have been an interesting night, mustn't it? So eventually, 6 hours later, they conceded that the jackboot of the authority was going to be stepping on their face, and you can't kick against the pricks. A hard lesson to learn, but learn it they shall. I don't like this. It really makes me feel uncomfortable.
After 6 hours. Very, very intense, very grueling. If you don't smoke, you still go for a cigarette because it's been that rough. That made me question...
Do you smoke?
Question the job. Question if I want to do this. Not because...
Well, absolutely it did, yeah. Thank God for that. I mean, there's a bit of a glimmer of light there. I mean, you did the thing, but then it made you question if you should have done the thing. Fucking hell.
That scenario.
But also, this is Luke telling me that. Like, maybe it made the people who employ him question whether he was doing the job right.
Per se. But because you feel like you've made progress with someone, you feel like you've got a relationship, and you feel like you're the person they can trust. And if they're in trouble or they're kicking off, you feel like you're the person that can go in and sort the situation out. Whereas in fact, I was the person they were attacking.
So you were angered because you felt your trust had been abused and that you'd been betrayed, and that's what made you question the job. Not that the requirement of the job was to lie on the child for 6 hours all night and have another child threaten violence that you sort of agreed with but you don't want to condone. I thought that when I said there's a glimmer of hope, I thought he was going to say, after that, and he was complaining he was tired. 12 hours, 14-hour shift, 6 hours lying on the kid, 14-hour shift. I was really tired. Made me question the job, Made me question the job because this kid undermined my authority. This kid abused my trust. This kid, threw it back in my face. This kid betrayed me. They're ego problems that Luke has. But the real problem is that, you should be saying, the reason I didn't want to do this job is because I had to lie on a child for 6 hours and it was a traumatic experience that they will never forget, and I inflicted that trauma upon them in the name of doing the fucking job, following the rules, protocol, whatever.
Another example of it as well in a minute, which was the final straw for me.
Selfish, that's the word, isn't it, Red Fan? Selfish, yeah. There's a lot of thought towards his own feelings there. And that, again, is a what the fuck to me, because the whole way through this, I've been thinking I have given credit to say this would traumatise Luke, or it should traumatise Luke as well, because it would traumatise me. I've tried to put myself in Luke's shoes as well, but mainly I'm thinking about the trauma the child's going through.
Mental health in the job is a real thing.
Energy supplies don't
you dare about to tell me that your mental health is obviously I was just saying you've been through trauma, so it is worth talking about, but if we're going to say mental health in the job is a real thing, surely we're going to start with the children who are going through serious mental health issues.
I saw it quite a bit with different staff members.
Oh.
It's not hard to need a half an hour nap. With the constant being on guard.
It's not hard to need a half-hour nap. Sleeping on the job is not a mental health issue. Where are these naps taking place? I thought you said the staff were really good. I don't know what job it is in the world, but if you open the cupboard to get some pencils out and there's somebody asleep in there, they need to be sacked, or their shift pattern needs to be addressed, or something. Like, sacking would be my first thought of call, because it's everyone's responsibility on the workplace safety, and like, you're there responsible for children and you're asleep. So that would be a big no-no. But also I would be considerate of the fact that if they're working these 14-hour shifts and then lying down on top of people for 6 hours and then working another 14-hour shift, maybe they might be pretty overworked and overtired. So that might be not just that they're sleeping on the job, they're bad, but it might be symptomatic of a problem in the workplace. However, my next question is going to be, where did you sleep, Luke? And how often did you fall asleep on the job and need a nap? Because it seemed like you would have needed one that night after the 6 hours lying down on top of the kids.
Wanting to turn your back in case you're attacked, or in case you run away, or in case they slip out the front and get into a car.
But this is what you said you liked about working there, or at least the other people liked about working there. You said there was a quieter place, but most people like working at the busier place because they kept on their toes.
You might have a kid who's really emotionally broken. You might have a kid that's self-harming. You then need to attach yourself, not physically, but you need to like be with them all the time to make sure they're not going to do anything stupid. It's very, very draining. It's like the mental draining side to it. There was a kid at the big house.
Now, I do agree with constant monitoring of someone who might be, doing the bad things like that. But attaching yourself to them is another question. Like, is it possible that there could be a system of monitoring whereby, like, they check in and check out of places, so that, like, I'm watching them while they're in this room, but if you're going to go in the other room and watch telly, well, I'll check you out and you can check in with, Sally, who's in the other room, and, she'll check you in. Like, that's possible. But are we saying, like, they get up and go to the toilet and you go with them? They get up and go to the computer room, you go with them? Or, like, I suppose there is a computer room, but you know what I mean? And it's the idea of attaching yourself to the child, like, yeah, it raises more questions again, but I don't,
She had been groomed from when she died to it. There was a kid at the big house. She had been groomed from when she was 12 years old. She was a good kid, actually, this one. She'd been groomed, and every month, around a certain date, she would self-harm. It turned out this date was, like, significant because she had this number in her head. That was the day he went to court or something, and he said to her while he was grooming her, and she was 12 at the time, and he was...
Is this something that's come out because you're talking to somebody and you've, like, hang on. I can't talk too much about SH, self whatever, because it does get you in trouble on YouTube, yeah? Can't be too brutal about it. But should you, as the children's home, I don't know what Luke's role is, what his job title is, but this feels like something that should be discussed in counselling with the young person. Maybe he's got this off their records, or maybe they've just talked about it with him because he's attached to them during this difficult time. Very delicate area, yeah.
An adult bastard again. He said, if I ever get caught for this, you need to kill yourself. And as a young girl that's receptive and who's vulnerable and who's naive and trusting, he manipulated her head. He got in her head, and she believed that she had to kill herself because he did get arrested. And he told her, you need to kill yourself if I get arrested. What a sick bastard he is. So on this date, she'd really protect our kids from these sick paedophiles and these molesters. And, keep an eye on what's going on Snapchat and TikTok and stuff, because it's rife. I've heard that there's one in 30 people are paedophiles, so...
You've heard 1 in 30 people are paedophiles? What? Really? Do you mean on TikTok or like in the world? Because that's quite a high number for the world. What was the stat?
Because keep an eye on what's going on.
And also, he's brought up TikTok again. Like, he wouldn't let his daughter on. We watched the other video. He mentioned TikTok. He's brought up TikTok again.
On Snapchat and TikTok.
Snapchat now as well.
Stuff, because it's rife. I've heard that there's 1 in 30 people are paedophiles.
1 in 30? So, is that real? 1 in 30 people are Paedophiles. The National Crime Agency says nearly one in every 35 men could be a sexual risk to children in The Independent, 2015. I mean, this seems a bit... The figures are based on academic research, claims that 250,000 of the men identified were true paedophiles. Nearly 1 in 35 men could be a sexual risk to children, according to new research from the National Crime Agency, suggesting as many 3% as men could be a potential sex abuser, have an interest in online CP, a cheese pizza. So no, actual, yeah, maybe. I mean, this is the National Crime Agency saying it, and we don't know exactly how they're correlating that figure, but they're definitely scaring you about the concept. Back in 2015, Luke's picked up on that somehow. I'll let that slide. I'll let the analysis of the statistics slide by because there's so much else. But
so that's one on every street. There's a fine line between being a protective father and an overprotective father. I don't think anyone's sussed it. I certainly haven't. But it is tough. It's tough being a father. It's tough being a parent, especially to girls. I find this girl would do that. And again, she was like 13, but she was attracted to men. Because this guy
it's interesting that Luke has brought out his own daughter into the conversation twice to sort of give him the status and kudos of, like, I am a father, therefore I am protective of children. Like, I am a father, therefore I go into this role and deal with these children and lie down on them for 6 hours. Like, I'm not saying that's exactly what he said, but he seems to use his status as father there, doesn't he? Like you said, what I'm saying is, not every father, by merit of having a child, is protective of their children. Like, you can't simply say to me, well, I'm a dad. And I should assume that means, oh, right, you're a father, that means you're protective of your children and other people's children by proxy, because you understand what it means to be a father. But because we're talking about this exact topic, like, a lot of those children in those homes are not in that situation, are they? So it's not just simply by merit that someone is a father that they are necessarily a good person or protective of children. So I understand what Luke's saying. Because I'm a father, I don't want her on TikTok and I'm this and I'm that. But I also think it's, you've got to be careful of what's being presented to you on YouTube by people, like, in some way. Like, yeah, I don't want to, like, say, oh, be careful because he might be a nonce, because, like, that's really quite an extra step, isn't it? But I'll go back to the exact point that I was making, which is simply being a father doesn't mean that you're not capable of being a child predator, or that you are suddenly some sort of hero soldier fighting for the protection of children. But it could influence people to feel like that. I mean, the majority of normal people, it would. But we're talking about a situation where there's these kids in these care homes, children's homes, I keep saying care homes, for this very reason, that not everyone does feel that way.
Got into her head, and she thought it was right. And she's always going to have issues, this girl. She's probably going to leave the home and turn to drugs and stuff like that, and be very promiscuous. Wouldn't surprise me if she got pregnant, but it's not her fault.
Promiscuity and pregnancy? We're basically saying having lots of sex. Who are we talking about now?
Got into her head, and she thought it was right.
Oh, this is the girl that was doing the harm to herself.
Got pregnant, but it's not her fault. It's these sick fuck's fault. You kind of learn a lot about yourself. You reflect on your own relationships with your family and your parents and
the children that you're working with.
You think about your childhood, you think about your upbringing. Appreciate if you've got a good childhood, appreciate if you've got a good mum and dad. The staff come in all shapes and sizes. You've got, like, over 6 foot big, strong guys. You've got very small, petite, young girls. You've got people from all walks of life doing this job. There was one guy, really sound member of staff, actually. He was a kid at Edgeley House. He went through the whole kind of system of care, and then he ended up working at the very home that he was kind of brought up in.
Fair enough.
So he was a child there, then he became a staff member looking after kids. So he was a great guy. He knows who he is if he watches this, so big up to you. I did about 6 months in this job. It was always a stopgap between being a chef. That's always
Secret big ups to a particular member of staff. Big shouts out to the secret big ups.
in my trade. I'm now trying to build the YouTube.
Oh yeah, Ellie, I just had to move past that kind of quick, didn't I? That was a bit of a fucking... yeah, he said she was promiscuous. Which, I mean, I stated what he said, but I just moved on from it pretty quick, didn't I? Like, he stated that she was promiscuous and it wouldn't be a surprise if she ended up pregnant or something like that, I think. I don't want to rewind it. Everyone else can to just confirm. You know, I'm not trying to put bad words in his mouth.
Things, but I am a chef by trade. I'll never kind of lose that. It'll always be there. What I learned in the 6 months I was there was I learned a little bit about myself.
6 months? That's very short time, isn't it? What was the reason that you left?
And like my
Is 6 months? Hang on, wait.
My relationship.
I don't know enough about this system. Is 6 months enough to get the job full time? Like, is that your probationary period and then you've done the job? Is 6 months a probationary period? Like, you know, what was the reason for him leaving? Questions.
I learned a little bit about myself and like my kind of upbringing and my...
Learned about me. You're not learning about these kids and what they're going through then. You're learning about me.
By trade, I'll never...
He said it was a stopgap between chefing, yeah. Like, a very strange stopgap to me, like, but maybe what was offered at the time, so I can't critique that, I guess. Like, people are going to work different jobs. But my whole principle of this, the reason I feel that's difficult is that that job to me wouldn't be a stopgap job. It would be something you'd need to do some good training for and take seriously, and that those who you know, work in that sector, like, to some it's like a vocation, isn't it? Isn't that word, vocation? And it's like a meaningful job that people would do because they care about the job and care about the people in the system. Like, you know, that's why it's called care, isn't it? Like, and sometimes they do it because, like, they feel this, like, you know, compulsion to do a good thing, like the vocational aspect of it. So not everyone should necessarily consider it to be a stopgap style job, because some, like washing dishes or doing XYZ, and obviously there weren't many dishes to wash, but, you know, certain things are a bit stopgappy, aren't they? But mentoring children, like you said, like becoming, if he knew it was going to be a stopgap job, then why did he impress upon these children that he was going to be this sort of mentor figure to them, and he was going to really help them through these difficult times, and then fuck off after 6 months? Like, it seems like a really naive, again, it might be naive, but or it might be, like, you know, selfish again, like.
Kind of lose that. It'll always be there. What I learned in the 6 months I was there was I learned a little bit about myself and like my kind of upbringing and my relationships. I learned how to make kids feel better and empathise. I learned that you can
Lie down on them for 6 hours and still not make them see sense.
Always trust people, even if you are led to believe that you really can, because people are smart, people are manipulative.
They're children. You're not talking about the staff here, are you? You're talking about the children in the care. Like, you're saying, you're saying, you know, you can't. You learned at the ripe old age of whatever the fuck you were that you can't always trust people because a child that was in your care betrayed your trust. Like, that's a fucking weird thing to take out from this.
On the little finger. There was times when it would really, really mentally exhaust me. You know, up all night, working 48 hours, and then up all night as well. Not good. And like, the care system needs to kind of...
How are you working all day and then up all night, and then, like, where are you up all night? How are you, like, are you on some sort of narcotics to keep you awake? I mean, I would need more than coffee to do those shifts. And where are you, like, do you not go home? Do you sleep at the care home? This, again, care home, children's home. Once my shift is finished at 14 hours, I go home and I go to bed, and then I turn up for work again 14 hours. I don't get much sleep in between. Like, I know those days, like, I didn't used to do 14-hour split shifts. I used to do, like, was it 9 or 12-hour? I can't have done 12-hour shifts, can we? 9-hour shifts, split shifts. So it'd have been 2 9s, 18, and you get like a 4-hour break or a 5-hour break or something in the midnight sometimes. But in that time, you fucking go home and you sleep for 2-3 hours, and then you get up and go back to work. But like you were saying, you just stay up all night. And what are you doing? Lying down on one of the kids. Like, should you be there in the night time, or is your shift finished? Like, what even is going on? Casper Kitty, big ups. Big ups, Casper Kitty. Why is this dude even posting all this online? Shouts out to you and your fucking cool tweets. I tweeted at you, didn't I? Is it alright to talk about this dude and look at your tweets? I might have to switch the stream on to 18 plus in order to do it, and that's something that I've said we've got lined up for today on the stream if it works out. So maybe you replied, oh cool. I won't, like, you know, don't note my notifications while I'm live, just in case like I've been notified of, like, you know, something that I don't want to come up on the screen. I don't know, but cool. Let's go back to this guy, Luke, who is telling us about his experience of working in a children's home.
Put something into place where if you're doing these 2-3 day stretches and then you're up all night, well, you can't be expected to work the next day. How can you? You're tired, you're not on your game, you're on edge, you're anxious. How are you supposed to look after kids? So if you do have this kind of up all night business because some kids kicking off, they need to bring in some cover staff to cover the next day, and you should be paid to have at least half a day off to rest.
No. I can't even... How he doesn't even understand how to fix this system. Your shift should be shorter, and then you should clock off at the end of your shift, and you shouldn't stay there and lie down on a child all night if you're not on your shift. Like... And then you should arrive the next day, and you say, oh, are they still lying down on that child in that room? All right, I'm clocking on now. Let me have the legs. Are you telling me that you're restraining the children in your free time all night simply because the job needs doing?
Business because some kids kicking
like,
off.
Listen, I'm not saying that Luke is a nonce and that he's like doing things in this room with this kid that are bad, yeah? Well, obviously, I think the restraining thing seems bad to me. But in another world, in another care home somewhere, could it not be that, like, all night, they're up all night in the room with one of the kids while the kid's being restrained and worse things are happening? Could that not be the case? Do you know what I mean? And then you've got to work the next day and you expect to be given a half day off and paid for it.
They need to bring in some cover staff to cover the next day, and you should be paid to have at least half a day off to rest. Pros and the cons of this job is you can have positive effects, you can make kids smile, you can impact their work, you can make a kid feel like themselves, like going and getting kids' haircut to make them feel like the person they are.
Which is in total contradiction of what you said about trans rights, and you basically went them bashing in that other video we've uploaded it to.
Can have a good chat.
Is he a cow or just a guy? He, like, a lot of the people I cover are like lol cows in potentia, lol calves. Like, there are people on YouTube who have not yet entered lol cowdom, but like are ripe for. They're like, he could become a lol cow if he's not careful. He could become a lol cow if he is one but hasn't revealed it yet. You know what I mean? So yeah.
As you're going to find out in a moment, it's fun. It can be fun. I went and played football, golf. I went and played pool.
Hello, everybody. It's
football, golf
here.
Hello, Miriam Margulies. Fuck off.
Go for like long drives into the countryside, go up mountains and hills, and you know, it's all that kind of stuff. It can be great fun.
Did you just say you go for long drives up the hills? Again, that seems mildly inappropriate if you're looking after children in care. Taking them out for, if it's acceptable for people to take the children out of the care facility and go for long drives in the hills, and they're getting paid for it, I can understand why predators are rife in the system. Like, what's going on?
You can be attacked. You can be called names. You can be
called names. These children are in care because they've had a life of like serious abuse. So I wouldn't worry too much if you get called names. Like, on balance, you being called names is not really a big con of the job when you consider the system and the situation that the people you're caring for are in. In fact, I wouldn't have even considered it to be what I might like. If you'd asked me, I've never been in a situation like Luke has, you know, in a care home like that, but like in any way, you know, like I said, I've been a sport coach and I've got my qualifications and bits and pieces. Like, if some of the kids called me names, I don't think I would take it home with me after the session. Someone called me a funny name, they're a child in the class. Like, or like, you know, in this context, maybe it's more serious names and they're in your kit. But like, I think you just have to be able to laugh that off, don't you? Because kids going to say rude names and be angry because they've gone through a traumatic life.
Accused of things that happen to quite a few people. It causes you anxiety. You don't know what's going to happen next. Where are they? What are they doing? What's that noise upstairs when they go to sleep? What's going on?
What is that noise when they go to sleep? What is that noise going on upstairs when they go to sleep, Luke? That's my fucking worry.
Together to attack you, you know, it can mentally mess you up.
Oh, right.
You know,
no, wait. That's you're going to sleep and there's a noise upstairs. So you're living at the care home. You're living at the abuse. You're telling me you're working in a children's home and you're going to, this is your negatives for you and aren't they? This is your negatives. I forgot, again, I was empathizing with the children. I forgot that I should be putting myself in Luke's shoes. These are the negatives, is that you find it difficult to sleep you can't be your house because there's nobody else making noise, is there? So you've got like a place you sleep in the children's home, and while you're trying to sleep, there's loads of noise going on upstairs, and you're worried about what that noise is. And like, your best expectation, your best hope is that they're lying down on one of the children again for 6 hours. Like, your worst hope could be anything worse than that. If there is anything, like, you know, I don't think there can be anything legally worse than that, can there? So, like, this is actually giving me a headache now. It's like, this is a different kind of react to the one I normally do. Like, normally I critique lolcows and turn things into jokes, but this isn't funny, so I'm not making jokes. I'm definitely not calling Luke a paedophile or a nonce. I'll tell you something else. I'm not intending this to cause Luke alarm and distress. I'm not intending this to cause, you know, a campaign of harassment against Luke. This is between me and my audience on Twitch, and it might get uploaded to my YouTube channel to share my thoughts on another content creator and a video they've uploaded, and they're legitimate thoughts, and there's no, you know, fingers being pointed here. Okay.
What's that noise upstairs when you go to sleep? What's going on? Are they colluding together to attack you? You know, it can mentally mess you up. You know, you can be shat on, you form trust and relationships, and then, you know, you just absolutely shat on. And it doesn't pay very well either.
But there are perks.
Pay very well at all, so there's always that as a con. There's a lot of staff in this game that I really respect. There's some that I don't. The good ones know who they are, the bad ones probably unaware.
Wait, you just did the cons of the job, right? Are we still doing the cons? Is this other staff members that you don't like? Wait, let me get through the cons, because I give him the credit to, you know, list his cons first, because I've got a big con of the job that I'm thinking, but...
So, at the Grand House, there was a kid that came there, a lad, and he was so angry. And he was always punching walls and kicking off, and he was fighting with everybody, and he clearly never had a hug in his life, never been loved, it didn't seem. And
is it appropriate for staff members to be hugging the children? Whilst I think children do need love, and I think hugs are important, I don't know. This is a really difficult question for me, because I think I would say I should be hugging all the children because they need love. But then if you put me in a situation where I'm like legally responsible as their guardian in a, like, you know, care setting like this in a children's home, I would say that me touching the children in any way is beyond, like, there's like an invisible line that I'm not going to cross, and that's touching them. Yeah, like, being asked to restrain them would be, I'd have to say, sorry, this is the moment you might have to call in some emergency staff here, because I'm about to, you know, walk on this job. I'm not going to restrain them. No, can't we think of another way to do it? If you can't, I'm not going to hold their legs. No, like, no. And even, like, they're young. This is like, he said that, like, a 14-year-old, yeah. So I know a 14-year-old could probably crack me in the face really hard, but like, how many cracks in the face can I stand from a 14-year-old before I'm like, I just feel like I should just be like, I got punched in the face a couple of times, I'm going to step out of the room and I'm going to call in a different, like, maybe there's only 2 of you on shift or something. I'm just really confused though. I'm really confused. And then, yeah, giving them hugs. Like, I suppose an arm around a shoulder. I mean, I used to be a hairdresser. You're touching people's shoulders, their heads, you know, the other staff members in my place, you know, I'd quite happily put my arm around their shoulder or something like that. But like, you know, give someone a hug. I definitely gave a girl a hug once when she did a client and the client was angry with the haircut. The haircut was good. And I said, sorry, I think the client's done, you know, bad on you there. She's made you feel unhappy. And the girl was like, I'm so unhappy because you made me feel bad. And I was like, don't worry, give me a hug. It's fine. You're a really good hairdresser. And you know, of course, I'm just going to be a natural human being. But if I was in a situation where I was I think that this is where, again, I think there needs to be enough training. And I don't blame Lucas completely for this. Well, not at all for this. You know, it's not his fault here. But there would need to be a certain amount of training and qualification, certification, where you've had these conversations in an educational setting and the boundaries have been clearly laid out. You've discussed them so you understand them, and you've done some sort of exam that proves you've got the certificate, so you know whether you should be giving kids hugs or not. Maybe it's context appropriate, but like, I worry, like, after everything we've been talking about, especially as Luke has been saying, some of these children, like, the point I can't really make too heavily because this might go on YouTube, is about the, you know, the SA, the abuse. Like, if children have gone through those sort of things, then physical affection from people in positions of authority that are also required to hold them down at some point, that's a no-no. It's just a boundary no-no, because it's going to confuse them further. Like, unfortunately, they're not in a home life situation where parents are giving them hugs. That's bad. But you can't provide that role because you are the caregiver in the children's home. I think that's where I think I'd be able to pass that exam without doing the revision here, because I think that's the answer. But I don't know if it is, and I don't know if people are being trained properly. That's blown my mind. I don't like any of it.
A lad, and he was so angry. And he was always punching walls and kicking off, and he was fighting with everybody, and he clearly never had a hug in his life, never been loved, it didn't seem. And you could see it a mile off, he was attacking people before he...
I mean, I'm not saying that Lucas hugged the kids. You know, he's not saying he's hugged the kids there. He's not, like, it's just the concept came up, and it made me have to worry about it.
He was attacked in his mind, his defence was to attack, but he was soft as shit, really. And he would always punch his walls. We ended up getting him like a punch bag in his room to help him. That helped a little bit, but then when that came off the brackets, he started punching walls again. Now, this kid had dad issues, right? I've got a fantastic relationship with my mum, brilliant relationship.
Okay, wait, we're moving on to this kid and their issues, right? So before we do that, and you and your mum and whatever, before we do that, right, I thought you were doing the cons of working on the job. And for me, one of the biggest cons, like I just talked about a minute ago there, was like having to deal with children who have been through traumatic abuse. Like, to me, that would be a big con, because in most jobs, you say, I'll leave that at the door. You know, I work here, but I'm going to go home and I'm going to forget what's at work. I'm going to just enjoy myself. You know, a lot of jobs you can sort of leave at the office and you don't have to take that home with you. But there are other jobs where you can't, and like you don't. And like, if you work in the services like the ambulance service or, you know, public service like nursing or something like that, like, they offer mental health support because there are things you don't really take home with you, or you shouldn't need to feel... I can't really explain this properly. Like, you feel burdened with, but it's not your responsibility to feel that burden, but you do, and like, you take it home with you, even though, like, you will. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying that you're not, like, you feel a sense of like guilt maybe, but you know, and stuff like that. But you're not responsible. You don't have to. You shouldn't. But you know, you do. You should, because you're human and stuff. Like, you know, for me, that part of the job, the ability, like, not being able to sleep very well at night because of the noise upstairs, but not being able to sleep very well at night because my internal conflict about whether I'm doing the best for these children and about what they've been through is now like on me. Like, you know, whatever they've described to me, I mean, I'm not their counsellor, am I? I'm just their caregiver. I cook the dinner or something. I don't know what I'm doing in this fucking place, but I hold them down apparently. But like, the life they've lived, the troubles they've had, I would sort of absorb as my own trauma simply by hearing them talk about it, ingratiating myself with their lives and understanding it, empathizing with them. I'd need to work. Like, I wouldn't just go home and be like, right, well, let's see what we're cooking for burgers. Like, I'd be like, I've got to that's the word, decompress. That's where I'd probably pick up an alcohol problem, or like, you know, I smoke weed, but I used to drink a lot when I was a hairdresser. Like, I needed to decompress after work simply for the stress of running the business. Imagine this. Like, I'm not saying I'd be an alcoholic, but I'd be, you know, like an alcoholic, wouldn't I? I'd have to have something to help me decompress for that. To help me, it'd be counselling. I'd need counselling. In the same way as the kids would need the counselling, if I was working in that situation, I would need the counselling. Big up Snippies. You've worked with children. You know what's going on here, in a way, don't you? Like, I'm saying this, like, you know, you, like, I imagine you have been through this exact issue, is that, you know, you see things at work and they are traumatic. And it's not happening to you, but it's happening to the people you care for, because you're working there, because you're vocationally, you know, you do the work because you care. And then, so the biggest difficulty, like, in working with children in a sort of social care setting or a medical setting, is the trauma they go through. You carry, like, I'm even feeling a bit upset now just even thinking about it. You know, I haven't worked in those situations that heavily, or at all really, ever. You know, I've just seen it vicariously on the telly or through people I know and stuff like that. But, you know, being able to list the cons to the job and obviate the fact that the emotional trauma that you feel for and with these children, that's the biggest con of the job. And it's not like, you know, it's actually the reason you do the job as well, in a way. I would hope. Like, if this is the truth of our care system, this video should have been blowing the lid on a broken system. And, like, maybe I'm giving Luke an idea for a new video here, I don't know, but blowing the lid on a broken system and exposing the things that you have found unacceptable, because he's listed a few that I would have said, this, I would have even probably considered, I mean, I know it's against the rules filming the kids or whatever, but, like, this is where you could do one of those undercover investigations and get a camera and, like, you know, reveal the truth of the horror of the, like, they were holding her down for 6 hours all night, you know what I mean? Like, instead, like, Luke hasn't even noticed that he should feel bad, or has felt bad, maybe, or at least not brought it up here. Maybe Andrew Tate doesn't have you having feelings. You've never sat on someone, no, true, yeah. Your laws won't allow a 6 hour sitting on you session. They probably shouldn't. They probably don't. I mean, he just said that one of the children needed to be restrained, and it took 6 hours of sitting on them all night. And then he didn't get a nice sleep because he was doing that all night, and he had to work the next day in the care home. So it blew my mind that you could be doing that on your off shift. Like, once you're off shift, you're not required to sit on the children anymore, I would have thought. Even that, you know, I'm repeating myself now, but, like, boundaries can be tricky for new staff, but honestly, it's just bizarre to be on YouTube talking about it. It's Luke's personal lived experience, from what I can understand. So, so I understand that he might share it as a video, but I would have, like, my point there was, like I said, is that I would have thought that it's the it's the tone of the video. Like, I would have felt compelled to share what I saw as injustice and exploitation in some way, or some bad stuff going on. All the things I've explained, and, like, sort of make things better for the children in the care home. But what Luke is doing is saying, this is my experience of it. These are the things that happened. They're the good things and the bad things. Like he said, the pros and cons. Like, it doesn't seem to have this deeper level of like shock, horror, emotional attachment to it that I feel from what he's saying. So I don't know. You think he's exaggerating to make himself look caring to the audience, but instead it comes across as me. I mean, that was evident, wasn't it? The selfishness at that moment where he said about how he felt instead of the kids. He may have felt he was doing the right thing. Yeah, he told them, I mean, there is that. We looked at that as well. They told him this is what you do, so he did it. It's just that one okay, so there's two things really. There's the isolated incident of sitting on a child all night, whether that's bad or wrong. And then there's the sort of, because Luke described some other things, like taking kids out to go for a big drive in the hills, or going and playing pool with them. Like playing pool, my next question is that a pub? Is that an adult drinking establishment where the pool table is, or is it a pool hall, or, you know, where's that going on? Like, there were these other, like, sort of things that I think Luke has stated happened, but not made a big deal about it being some sort of endemic breakdown in the system that allows for predation by predators or something. Like, it would seem really obvious to me that those are sort of like potential negatives in the system. Yeah.
Mine and my dad's is a little bit off. We're very, very, very similar, and I think we kind of rub each other up the wrong way. However, I do love my dad. If he does watch this, then there you go. Said it. We just have never been able to get on for more than 5 minutes at a time, but I wish him no harm. He'll always be my dad. No, anyway, moving on.
I mean, no offense, I'm not really going to, definitely not, intruding on his personal relationship with his dad there, but I do love my dad. If he's watching, there you go, I said it. So that implies to me that you didn't ever said it to him. Like, that's the chance that he's got to find it out. That's a different issue. Like, Luke's problem with his dad is a different issue, and he's highlighted it there.
From that, there was a kid that had daddy issues, okay, and I could see that, and I think that's why he kicks off a lot. That's why he's angry. One day, he was in his house, and I went, come in the kitchen. He kicks off prior to this. Took him in the kitchen, and I shut the door. I went,
okay, right, that's the straight off. I took him in the kitchen and I shut the door. Like, so is it just you and him in the kitchen now? Like, what you should be saying is I took him in the kitchen and I asked him, can you take a chair and just prop the door open for me there, little, like, what's his name? I'm going to try and give him a different name from all the usual names, because I feel like I should be diverse with my naming. Oh, Jimmy. Okay, Jimmy Mohammed. Mohammed's quite a popular name. That's actually the most popular name. Jimmy Mohammed Bobby Billy. That can be his name. Jimmy Mohammed Bobby Billy. And not Mohammed, peace be upon him, the prophet, just the name Mohammed. Like, Jimmy Mohammed Bibbly Bobby, right? It's me and you in the room. So, Jimmy Mohammed Bibbly Bobby, can you please take that chair from over there and prop the door open? Okay, let's talk. And then later on, when someone says anything or whatever, I can say, tell the policeman what happened. And Jimmy Bibbly Bobby Mohammed say, well, the first thing he did is he said, take that chair and prop the door open. Yeah? And then what happened? Well, nothing else bad happened, did it? Because you can't accuse me of doing anything bad, because I've asked you to open the door and keep it propped open. You feel that you have the means to escape. You are between me and the door. You are the one opening the door and propping it open. If you want, you can leave. Like, we're going to have this conversation in a private area, but because there's this issue with me being this adult and you being this child, like, there's a safety issue that I have to protect myself against, which is not, I'm compelled to rape, I said the bad word, grape a child, but because people say things and accuse people of things, there's that as well. But I don't want you to feel that you're trapped in this room. Like, so I think the best, I don't know if they teach this to these people, but the best thing would have been to take them maybe out into the garden or somewhere like that. Like, I don't know what the time of day was, the temperature, but like a place, I don't want them running off from the garden, do we? I don't know. But like, I don't think they should be felt trapped in any particular situation with you. And I don't think that it should be a private one-on-one, like, yeah, I just feel that whole concept, yeah, I don't need to say any more, do I?
You can shout, you can say what you want. It's me and you. Anything goes, eh? Now, don't hit me. But anything goes.
Right.
Swear, get it all out. And I sat him down.
Is that really a good thing for, like, this might be a sort of instinctive thing you've done, or it might be that you've learned about child behaviour and how to deal with these issues. But I've heard that the studies done that, and I've heard the studies done that actually, screaming and yelling and shouting and swearing and smashing things up makes you more angry and more upset, and that like meditation and breathing techniques and other ways calm you down. So maybe encouraging the child to get more eggy and really go for it in the kitchen is not the most sharp move.
I made a mistake that I didn't realise was a mistake.
That should be the name of your channel.
to the fact that I have not, and I sat him down, and I made a mistake that I didn't realise was a mistake. I let him into the fact that I have not had a great relationship with my own dad.
Right.
I said, I understand that you're upset, I understand that you're angry, I understand that you feel bitter, I understand that you feel rejection. I get it. I do get it. And he looked at me so funny. He'd never had someone relate to him. He'd never had compassion. He'd never...
No, because what you said is, I understand. I. So the correct way to relate to somebody, to show them empathy, is to say, you have felt this, you have felt this. From what you're telling me, I'll tell you back what you've said to me. And I'll use the word you at the start of the sentence, because I'm not concerned with what I feel and what I've been through and me and my. I'm concerned with you and what you... Like, no counsellor is going to sit there and tell you, yeah, that's interesting what you said, so listen to me about me. Like, that's never going to happen.
I'd understand him before. And for someone to say to him, I understand. I get your anger. I relate to it. I know how you feel, to a degree. He didn't know how to deal with it.
You didn't know how to deal with it.
So, but I didn't know at this moment. So he was just kind of staring at me like confused. We had this chat and I thought like, that's helped him. After this chat, the way he was in me was, he couldn't leave me alone, but in a way of like, he wanted to fight me. And in hindsight, that was kind of his way of showing affection in a way. I know it's hard to understand that. I still don't understand it,
But you're talking about it on the internet as if it's a fact. But the facts of the matter are, after being locked in the kitchen with you, every time he saw you afterwards, he wanted to fight you. So to any other member of staff, that would seem really worrisome.
he's never been shown like love or compassion or anything. He's only ever seen violence.
Right. Love him up in the kitchen, get him on your side, but then he wants to fight you because violence is his only way of expressing himself. So he wants to love you with violence back. He wants to show you love back with violence. So it's going to be a sort of, don't even get me saying the words. Don't even get me making that next step. Don't even get me doing it.
So that's how he communicated. That was my experience. Would I do it again?
Maybe he enjoys being held down for 6 hours.
Probably not. I think people need to really think about if they want kids. Because if you...
I mean, what do you mean by that? You mean your own kids, don't you? You mean, you know, or adopting or whatever. You know, when you say people need to think about if they want kids, you are honestly going to go on to say, you know, and take care of them well. And
people need to really think about if they want kids. Because if you don't and you're not ready for it and you can't handle it and someone else has got to look after them and they go into the care system, it isn't a great environment, really. Generally speaking, it's not great. Only takes one kid to come in and, you know, spoil the progress of everybody else.
So he said it wasn't a great environment, and I was going to say why. I thought you were doing a good job working there and all the people were good, but apparently it's not all the people are good. And it was a kid he blamed. The environment was good apart from a kid came in and spoiled it. Well, like, welcome to working in a children's home. Children are going to come in and be very difficult. Probably each new child is going to come in with their own set of difficulties. Every time you're going to have to get used to that flow and that process, and it is going to be difficult, but you don't blame the children for causing the problems in the children's homes. The problems of the children, their dysfunctions, are exactly the reason for having the children's homes, and your role is to try and calm and like provide and help them through with those problems.
Big respect to the staff that do this job, the ones that care, massive respect. Big respect for the ones that continue to do it and deal with the mental struggle, the physical struggle that comes with it, and the
Physical struggle.
shite money. Big respect to you guys.
Oh, it's big respect. I thought it was the kids again. It's not, it's you. It's if you can deal with the physical and mental struggle working there, fair play, fair play.
Mental struggle, the physical struggle that comes with it, and the shite money. Big respect to you guys. If anyone watches this, you know which ones I thought were good, you know who you are. Would I advise going into it? I wouldn't advise it, but if you feel like you can make a difference and you can handle what comes with it, go for it. And yeah, I suppose the message to take from this is you need to be very, very prepared if you're going to have a kid. You need to be prepared to raise this child until they're an adult. You need to stick by them. You need to take any crap that comes with it.
Is that the message that comes from this? Because at no point did we talk about that. That's your feelings about fatherhood. But from working in the children's home, if you could give me your final thoughts on that instead.
Because we don't want our kids ending up in the system. If everybody looked after their kids and was responsible and had the minerals to be a parent, then no kids would be in the care system, and it's not a great place. That's my message to you.
I'm personally not going to make any comment about Luke's relationship with his I mean, I've told you what I think his relationship is earlier, because I think the questioning his position where he was living in relation to having the kid come outside the establishment with him and go on jaunts and stuff. Like, what the fuck was that, basically?
Anyway, thanks for watching this intense video, and peace out.
Yeah, it was intense. I'll agree with that. That was Break the Ice, Working in a Children's Home, Experience Series Part 1, Vlog Children Abuse. I mean, he's hashtagged it with the word abuse. But he didn't discuss, he discussed that they came in with problems, that they had been abused, but he didn't directly discuss any abuse, other than at the very start he said there was a girl on the phone to a man and she went out and ran away, and like they had to try and deal with the man and deal with the police, and then maybe later the police dealt with it, and I hope they did. But really he didn't talk about any specifics of any abuse, although I would say the lying down on the kid for 6 hours sounded like abuse. Like, basically, because Luke has talked about me a few months ago and then sort of lined up this anti-bullying campaign that is not really a pop at me, but he outlined that I was a bully because I did detractor videos, and then, like, we've got all that backstory. I've been looking at some of his content, yeah? Starting with what I thought was probably the most egregious examples of his homophobia, or his... what have we had? We've had Sam Smith homophobia. We've had Andrew Tate misogyny. But I didn't realise that one was on there as, like, potentially the worst one in a far more serious way. It's fair comment on the internet. I'm not doing anything to cause him alarm and distress intentionally. Not thinking about him watching this and trying to send it to him. I'm not making him any comments on his thing or anything. I'm just... but there was no series. No, that wasn't a series that happened. That was episode 1 of no series. So weird that. Lol cow in the making. Potentially, it could be worse. Could be worse. Could be nothing. Could be worse. It just. No. I mean, the video's only got 400 views. I just think, like, there's something that feels weird to me about hashtagging a video children and abuse. Like that. Like, it could attract the wrong people. Protest. Working in prison hostels experience series part 2. Well, that's part 2. Working in prison hostels. So that's the experience series. Oh, I've got it. See, I thought working in a children's home experience series part 1 was part 1 of a series of vlogs about a children's home, but it's a series of vlogs about his experience. So we do get a part 2, and it's about working in... That's the Jimmy Savile picture. Working in bail hostels. And why has it got a picture of Jimmy Savile? Come on. Come on. Don't tell me you've worked with a load of pedos. If this video is going to tell me that you've worked... If this video tells me that you've worked part-time with a load of nonces, like, what do you want me to start thinking and saying? I'm not going to call you a paedophile, no matter how much you try and provoke me into it. But, like, what is about to happen? Please don't say that. Please make it something innocent, because I don't want to have to go down this fucking road.
Children. I've worked with the children in the children's homes that have been abused and groomed. And I've worked in the prison halfway houses, the bail hostels, where the offenders do their probation.
So who the fuck are you? That's the worst two things to put on your CV next to each other like that in a video. Like, this is this like, are you trying to promote the idea that you could facilitate? I don't want to make it into a joke. Like, I mean, I'm making a joke, but I've worked. It's like, hi, do you want to make connections? I've worked with the children who are being abused, and I've also worked with the people who abuse them. I'm kind of in the middle. What can I do for you? Oh, hi, I'm a child that would like to be abused. Oh, I can fix you up with that. I know someone who I can call. Hi, I'm a dirty old man who wants to abuse a child. Well, I'm going to not have to help you with that because it's illegal. I'm only making a joke there. I'm not calling him a paedophile. I'm just saying, come on. I'm not being causing alarm distress. I'm not, I'm making a reasonable joke about a reasonable thing that a reasonable man has said. The thumbnail has Jimmy Savile in it. So can't I make a joke about Jimmy Savile? What you saying in chat is what you saying in chat. I'm just like, I have to do this now, don't I? Because he might delete it. I didn't know we were going down this rabbit hole. I didn't know this rabbit hole existed on his channel. I'd ignored this because I thought it was a thumbnail with Jimmy Savile, a clickbait video about talking about Jimmy Savile. That's what I thought this was. It's hashtagged Jimmy Savile prison. It's hashtagged Jimmy Savile. So like, honestly, right, I'm thinking I'm going to upload this to YouTube, and I'm worried that Luke could be like, oh, he's harassing me and saying I'm a paedophile, like, because of what Alan did. But obviously, we came off better in that because the police agreed that fair comment on YouTube. But in this, it's a bit darker. It's a bit more close to the bone. And I'm not making as many jokes. But I think it's still fair comment on YouTube. I'm not intending to cause Luke alarm and distress in any way. And he has to, if he feels bad, he can switch this right off. And I'm not promoting a harassment campaign against him, or like, I'm describing my reaction to the things that are happening on the videos, yeah, and like, we're all seeing it, it's all happening. So, but I'm gonna press ahead because I can't not do this, and I think it needs to get uploaded to YouTube as well. But I initially said this was members content, but I don't even know where it ends up going.
I've worked with the children in the children's homes that have been abused and groomed, and I've worked in the prison halfway houses, the bail hostels, where the offenders do their probation. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. Well,
it's interesting to me that Luke said earlier that one of the people that worked in the children's home was a former resident of the children's home. I wonder if they allow the former residents of the fucking bail hostel to work in the bail hostel. I fucking hope not, because like, the system in the children's home, from what I heard from his experience, was pretty fucking slack in lots of different ways, and it allowed lots of different openings for predators. So I would hope that this system that he's about to describe is far more strict.
Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone is fantastic. The weather, substandard. Today is part 2 in my experiences with series. The first one was about my experience working as a child support worker in children's homes. Number 2 today is my experience as a chef working in Her Majesty's probation houses, prison hostels, halfway houses, whatever you want to call it.
A chef in a prison hostel? Can't they microwave their own pot noodle?
All them. As a freelance chef, I got offered work, and one day last year I was offered to work in a probation hostel.
I would not be cooking burgers for nonces. I'm not having it. They can make their own super noodles. They can have a fucking tin of tuna and an apple and fuck off. I'm not doing it. I don't care. I'd rather not have the payment. I don't care. I'll take the job and I'll turn up at the office and I'll say, sorry, mate, are you in the halfway house for being a fucking nonce? Well, your dinner is fucking whatever you can cook in your kettle. There's a tin of beans. No, there's not a tin opener. Go home. You are home. This is your little noncy house. Shut up and eat the beans. Like, I'll do that until I get the sack.
I ended up working in 4 of them. for quite a long time, doing a bit of a cycle around. At first I was like, not really interested. I was then offered a good hourly rate and I thought, well, let's give it a go. I like living life on the edge. So this was living life on the edge, really. I didn't have a clue what I was letting myself in for, but I quickly learned what it was all about. I worked in 4 of these hostels, basically these probation houses, these prison houses. They specialised in different types of ex-prisoners, prisoners going in probation, in types of people. One of them was for people with special needs, educational difficulties. One of them had hardened criminals, some terrorists in there. One of them, I can't remember the niche. I think it might have just been kind of maybe petty crime. It was nothing there was no real niche to it. One of them was paedophiles, which was where I ended up doing a lot of my work. Quite eye-opening that, and I learned a lot of things about that and about how they operate. Very eye-opening.
Oh my God! Wait! I just had to go to the bathroom. I've got to stop this. I was going to say, what did you learn? Like, because I thought he was going to say I learned about cooking or organisation. He actually learned about noncing, and he focused on going to the nonce house. Like, what the fuck is going on? Oosh.
Not always how you'd imagine. My first day was at the hostel, which mainly housed these child sexual offenders. So when I first went in, I was given a key alarm.
Yeah. You're fucking not going to hear that going off. I'll tell you. I'd tell you what I'd do is I'd hand it to the non. Hand it to the nons. Say that, look, you're gonna need this. Why? Because you've got 3 seconds to pull it. You're handing me an alarm so that are dangerous. So they're dangerous to me, isn't it? But I feel like like Roche, what's his name in Watch Dogs, when he says, no, he's like, you all need to learn. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. Like, you got your alarm. Yeah, got your alarm. Like, do you need that though? Because are you going to be interacting with them or just cooking dinner in a canteen? Like, if I work in the canteen, like, why have they even got a canteen? Why have they even got a chef? Can't they cook their own I suppose don't let them in the kitchen, isn't it? Don't let them on the kettle. Don't give them the knives. Like, maybe it's that. Like, just let them eat sandwiches then. Give them loads of sandwiches. Spam. I mean, I'm vegan. I don't want to eat spam, but they can have it. Spam sandwiches. Cold spam. Have spam. Order them a fucking pizza. And you can't be ordering them nonsense pizza on taxpayer money. I'd rather do that than fucking the threat of being stabbed while I'm cooking for them. Here's a nice salmon velouté. Enjoy that, you big nonce. Tell me about what it was like being a nonce.
It had a red button on it, and it had a key at the end that you pull. Now, the red button, if I remember rightly, it got all of the office staff to run to the kitchen. The key that you pull, big alarm, might have been the other way around.
You don't even know how it worked. What happens if you were getting... Don't
say it was the pin you pulled. I quote, that gets half of Manchester Police Force to the hostel. On one side, I was like, okay, well, that's good.
Is that if you've got... Wait. Is that if you only pull that if you've managed to grab a child from the children's home and drag them into the hostel? Then you pull that. Half of the police. And they're not there to arrest anyone. I'm joking. That is a joke. You might think it's bad, but it's a joke. A joke's a joke, but being silly is being silly now. Are you coming in or are you out?
Safety and good security if anything happens, but on the other side I was thinking, bloody hell, I'm working at a place where I actually need this. So straight away,
I actually think the police are good people. Yeah, I think they're underfunded and they're good people, and I think that if they were funded more to do the job better, then we would have less problems like between the police and the people, and I think it's underfunding that causes these weird problems. And then you'd have a more diverse police force as well. Like, actually, I'll tell you something. You know, when the police, me and Alan Vinicum had that problem with the police, and they came to my house, and I had to go to the police shop. The police people that I worked with were like, they weren't just like, meow. You know, they are what I hope for from police people, like a cross section of our society. Meow, come on, come on. Why are you running about? What's the problem? I have to do this. You just come out, you just come in, you just come out. I'll have you on my lap for a cuddle. Do you want to come up for a cuddle? Come for a cuddle, come on then. Come on, you mess. Are you just messing? Where's that fishy? Where's the fishy? You can mess with the fishy. Go and mess with the fishy. Go and mess with the scratch post.
High alert. I remember on my first day working in this hostel that housed sexual offenders, I had like a roll shutter and someone banged on it. So I opened it up slowly.
So this is like, you remember Victoria Wood and Dinner Ladies? Remember that? And they opened the shutter. Dinner Ladies, remember that show? It's like that, but everyone that you serve food to is a pedo.
And there was a guy stood there and he gave me these funny eyes. And bear in mind that I'm 33.
I was going to say, he thought, hello, here's a bit of hot sauce. Who's this behind the counter? Here we go. Did you get hit on your first day?
32 at the time.
Oh, good placement for an advert. I hope he's not done that deliberately.
He said to me, well, at first he said, are you new? I said, yeah, I'm just covering. And he went, ooh, you're young. And gave me a very funny look. Very uncomfortable. To the point where I didn't want to turn around and walk away. I kind of walked backwards.
Where's the alarm? Where's the alarm? Where's all the police in Manchester? This is a really weird one, because I can critique him on so many different angles. You know, I can be like, oh, the homophobia and all that, but you are working in the hostel with the nonces, so I would not want to be like, you know, but then I critique him a little bit on the naivety to be like, yeah, I'm new. How do you want your potatoes today? Mashed, roasted, baby minis. I don't know, man. I don't know. I kind of respect the grind in a way to just go and work anywhere, but ending up in the nonce house as a cook. This was day one anyway. He said he did a lot of the he spent a lot of time there. Well, that was the one he did most at, but this is day one.
Didn't show any signs of weakness or fear, anything like that.
It's not a fucking dog. It's not a bear. Shout, go, ah!
But straight away, I was kind of unnerved. The mental health.
Do you think you're being hit on by a confirmed sex offender? Unnerved? I'd be like, you're not getting any fucking dinner now. When he said, you know, you look young or whatever, I just say you're not getting any dinner now. Jog on. I'm in charge of the fucking dinner round here, and you've just done that. This button fetches half the police in Manchester now. Fuck off. I don't know, man. I'm just like, what's going on? I sort of slowly backed away from the counter. But I held my own. I got right up against the fridge. Where's that? Where's that spatula? Where's that spatula? Didn't take my eyes off the fucking nonce. Whole time. Eye contact the whole time.
No real problems, to be honest with you.
Apart from that.
Went in, did my job, left, no real interactions.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is it should really, shouldn't it? If they're easy, I just still don't understand how we're catering for these people. But, like, if we are catering for these people, can't you just leave it all on a tray? There's your chips, there's your burgers, there's your beans, I'm out. The kitchen is closed, you can fuck off. Put all your pots and pans and empties, put all your empty plates in a big rack over there, and then fucking wash them up yourselves, you pricks.
People were very quiet there. The one that housed hardened criminals, they were more just sat on their tables in their groups. They didn't really converse with me that much at all, which was fine. They weren't rude or anything like that. They just came in, had the food, and...
Listen, if they knew you were also working at the nonce shop... what are we calling it? The Noncy house? If they knew you were also working at that other one, right, then they might have wanted to say some things to you when you served them. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, God damn it. Like, you're in so... I can't believe the naive... Like, again, maybe Luke is just this naive. But... and I suppose working in prisons, you have to facilitate the, organisation of the chomos as well as the regular population. But I just think, the dancing between the two environments, like, maybe he did one, then the other, and it, like, but he had to be really careful. I don't think he realised maybe how careful he had to be. Like, if he'd have said the wrong thing, if they'd said, where'd you work before this? And he said, oh, I've been working with all the nonces and I've been working with all the kids in the care homes, they might have got the wrong idea and some shit might have gone down because they don't tolerate that in the prison system. Do you know what I mean? It's like an intolerable bad thing. Oh, this is such a bad reaction I'm having to make. This is such a really bad reaction video. Might change my stream to 18 plus at this point.
Got on with it and left. The home where they spoke to me the most and interacted the most was the one for the child sexual predators.
Do you think? I wonder why. I mean, you don't want... What? You're right, Jamie. Regardation Police could have a field day with this, but it in itself is bad.
And it really got me kind of into their psyche.
Did it? I'm done here. You can detract yourself. You can detract yourself, you nutter. I'm done. What do you want from me now? What do you want from me? You can have my cardigan, you can have my blues shirt, you can have my headphones, you can do the job. I don't fucking care. What do you mean? You're supposed to cook them their chips and fuck off home. You're not supposed to get into their psyche. Write a book called Inside the Psyche of a Nonce through one squashed burger at lunch. How my burger smash. Just call it nonce burgers. Just call it nonce burgers.
And it scared me about how they kind of operate. They were the most talkative. They were the most charming. They came to the shutter and they spoke to me and they tried to have conversations. I conversed. I wasn't rude. At the end of the day, you can go into this place and you can have an attitude of, I'm not going to speak to them. I'm going to spit in their food. I'm going to talk to them like shit. However you would like to sort of show your disapproval of why they're in there. But if that...
You've come from working in a children's home where... This is part 2 of the series, so my assumption is he's done children's home first, and then he's done this next. Like, you've come from seeing the results of the noncing, and now you're in charge of their cooking, and they're not dropping down dead from food poisoning. Wasn't me, Your Honour, can't trace it, can't prove it was me. I think it was a Mars bar they ate that they bought from a shop over the road. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? You're, in some way, you're like, yeah, but don't be bad to the nonsense. I get it, like, professionally and, like, officially, professionally, isn't it? I know, obviously, I'm saying in Minecraft, you're not really going to poison people in real life. I'm only joking, but the concept that you should be, I get the concept that you should be sort of, what I said about the children's, it's weird because in the children's home, you weren't like, like veneer of professionalism, just going to do the job, don't really, have emotional feelings here, just going to do the job. But in the nonce factory, in the noncy house, not a factory, they're not churning them out. Well, they do churn out from there, don't they? Anyway, look, in the nonce canteen, in the nonce caff, right? Look there, over there, right? You're like, I will engage with them a little bit, but there's a set of boundaries that I won't cross. I mean, good in a way, good, but also I know that legitimately to do the job, realistically, like you just treat them like humans, human rights and all that. They've done their time, they've come out of the prison, but for the most of us, and this is how I feel in my heart, really, is you've done your time, you come out of the prison, but you're a fucking nonce, and you can't, you're going to have to go and live on a fucking commune somewhere off in the sea because we don't want you around society and the kids. Have your freedom to choose, but please choose to fuck off. Do you know what I mean? I've got to be careful what I say on the internet, haven't I? Because I can't say any like horrifically bad things because I'm on the internet and I'm going to post it on YouTube. And I can't be advocating for violence. But like, these people are the worst people in the world. And I maintain this as well. If you can do bad things to an animal, you can do bad things to anything. So I think there's some crossover sometimes in the worst people in the world. Why am I reacting to this all night tonight? I want to do better stuff. I've had my fill of this now. There's 10 more minutes of it. And I have to do it because he might delete it. So let's push on.
That's how you're going to be. Don't take the job. What I noticed was that they were all really, really charming. They like to talk. They come to the food pass and they would compliment the food.
That's because you're the only chef that's not spitting in it.
How good it was. They would say, could I take a dessert up for later? They were really, really grateful. They would ask me what I'm doing on the night and on the weekends. It made me realise is how they operate. Going across the 4 homes, 3 of them didn't speak to me, really. It was just all right, cheers, see you later. No rudeness, really, generally.
Do you realise that to them, they've been in prison, yeah? So the ones that haven't been in prison for noncing, the other ones, they've been in prison. So you to them represent a sort of formal institution, like you work for the institution. You're there to serve their dinner, got it? They respect that, like they want their dinner. But, like, you work for the man. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, not in a chauvinistic terms, not in, like, patriarchal terms, but, like, in terms of, damn the man, save the empire. Do you know what I mean? Like you work for you are the, I don't know how many, I got no idea what the situation is in these hostels, whether they have, like, prison guards there or whatever, but you are you're on the side of the authority there, aren't you? You're on the side of the authorities. You're like, they're not going to have, like, they're not going to be like, let's be friends with the guy who serves me dinner in the canteen in the prison hostel, are they? Like, of course they're not going to really want to talk to you. Like, I don't know.
Just in the dining room and out the dining room.
You're right, I do wonder what you had to cut out. Like, in the main, I'll accept this though, I'll say this. In the main with the edits, you can look through your edit and you can think, oh, that didn't sound good, or I cut that out. Or it might be that, like, you sneezed or had a sip on your drink or looked at your words again or stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff in my edits when I was doing ASMR. Like, that's why I can't do live ASMR. And it wasn't because I was doing weird shit in the background. It's simply like, I might go, and then that's got to be edited. And then, like, you might get a tickle on your nose, and like you're watching your own video in the edit, and you're thinking, I'm tickling my nose there. Edit that. There's lots of reasons why you might edit some bits out, but there are lots of edits in this. Yeah.
Room, see you later. That was it, really. They just wanted their time to go quick, and they wanted to go and move on with life, do whatever they do. But this paedophile one, this child sexual predator one. They all conversed with me.
So, unlike the other places that you worked in that environment, these guys wanted to sort of create some sort of contact with you and to become friendly with you. You'd also recently, according to what we've just seen in your experience series, been working at the children's home.
My food, I was the best one, and it really made me realise how paedophiles operate. Obviously, I'm not a child, but made me realise how paedophiles operate with children. They use charm, they use compliments, they want you to feel secure. They want you...
I'm not going to counter that and say, no, that's not right, because I don't know. Yeah, but I thought they might use force sometimes. I thought, you know, they grabbed them and, like, I don't want to go into any further details than that, obviously, but I didn't realise that Luke had this deeper insight into how to groom a child. I certainly didn't.
You to feel good. They offer to do favours. Let me go and get these plates from the table. Let me grab that. Let me wipe. Give me the spray. Let me wipe that down. I was just slowly seeing this and working all out. And I was thinking on one side, like, you guys.
Were you letting them do that? Were you giving them the spray? Or you were obviously saying no? Like, you just cold no. Not no, this, that, and the other. Just no. And then just walk off, yeah? Like, no, sorry, no. Or I suppose on the other side of the coin, what I was saying earlier is, like, if you're out there on the floor in the canteen and you're wiping the tables and you're surrounded by pedos, then I'm going to say, fuck this, wipe your own fucking tables and just not do it. And if I get reprimanded at the other end by my boss, oh, you're not wiping the tables, you're making them wipe the tables, I'd say, yes, I am. I'm not going into that room full of pedos and wiping a load of tables. What do you want to do about it? Sack me or leave me to just do the job? Because not many people want to come and work in the fucking pedo cafe. So...
I'm in here because you molested children. But you could pass most of these people in the street or talk to them in the pub and you wouldn't know why they were in there. You wouldn't know what they'd done. It educated me on the bigger picture.
If they're strangers, yes. But in your local community, you have the ability to... Like, there's rules to... like, there's, like, registers. There's laws. Like, you know, you can find out if you're living next door to... Look.
Of how dangerous they are and the tactics that they use to groom and to try and gain trust. Paedophiles rarely have paedophile written on the forehead. They're not the guy from Family Guy, that old man, Bert.
With a little... He whistled, didn't he, with his teeth? Howdy ho, little boy. Wouldn't you like to come and get some apples? See my puppies? I think that was about...
I think it's called. They're not obvious. They're in the pub, they're down the road, they're next door neighbours, they're people in the street, you pass them.
Look, you're winding me up now. They're not my next door neighbours. I'm not passing pedos in the street. Not in my street, I'm fucking not.
Not one of these guys would I have saw in a lineup and gone, go on. One day the fact...
What? I mean, it's Luke's judgment there, so, you know... like, let's play a game. Here's $5,000. You can give it to Luke, and he gets to pick a pedo out of a lineup. And if he gets it wrong, you lose the money. Or you can give it to any other random person in the street, random, and they do the same game. Would you trust Luke with the $5,000, or would you want just random person? Because I'd give it to random person. Like if it was a game of fucking, you know, here's $5,000, you're going to give it to Luke and he's going to go and put it on a horse in a gambling shop or anything, like any sort of risk involved, I'm going to say, no, don't give it to Luke. And they're going to say, who do you want to give it to? And I'm going to say, well, I haven't got anyone else. And they're going to say, well, we could choose a random person from the street. What about that? And I go, okay, odds are random person's better. But I agree, you know, they don't all just look like Savile or whatever. But I also think, like, Luke telling me that these people just, you know, couldn't tell they were pedos, couldn't tell, like, by looking. Obviously, you can't tell if someone's a pedo or not by looking at them. But, like, any other sort of, you know, intuition or ideas about, you know, personality and stuff like that, Luke's got a base read on them and said, I couldn't tell. But maybe you could. Maybe it's just Luke can't. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, not by looking at them and picking them out of a lineup, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's not a genetic feature that you have, but, like, can't you spot a creep? My worry in all of this is that Luke has somehow positioned himself betwixt. That's an interesting question, Jamie. I don't know, and it's a very harsh question. Maybe we should ask it to Harsh. Luke has positioned himself betwixt children's home and paedophile out hostel as like a stepstone part of his career. And like this video, like the main standout point to me is that there's no sense of rage and anger and like resentment, and that's very big of him to be so grown up as to sort of, you know, treat them like human beings. But it's not very like human if you've just worked at the children's home. Like it would feel like I don't know, like it's not something I would want on my CV. I know there are tough jobs and someone's got to do tough jobs and stuff, but this one, like, it comes with these weird overtones, undertones, subtexts. Like, imagine this. I meet, because I've been in relationships where, like, you know, I've met a girl, like, she might have a child already, single parent, yeah? And then I tell her over dinner, yeah, and then I used to work in the, you know, the children's home, and she's like interested, and we talk a bit about that. And then I said, and after that I went to work in the prison for the nonces, and then after that I went to work, and she's like, with the what, sorry? You know, wouldn't her ears pick up, and wouldn't people have questions and worries? Like, not having to say that because I never did it would be much better for me. I'd probably not want to do that. I mean, maybe he didn't, maybe he was just being open-minded, maybe it was an economic thing, maybe he just needed the money and like was put into a difficult position. I mean, I get it, but I have to say it, don't I?
Fire alarm went off and everyone had to go outside. Now, I'd always had this barrier of, they were in the dining room, I was in the kitchen, and there was just a small kind of hatch, so they could have got in.
But you'd fucking...
But what they didn't know is that when I opened my hatch up, just to the right of me, I had a big cling film roll. Behind it, and a massive knife, just stored there, just in case.
In case someone tried to climb in, and you were going to knife them to death, and then wrap them in cling film, put them in the fridge.
To the panic button, I always had that there. So I had this protection. Not only did I have the protection of doing a different room, I had the hatch so I could act quickly, but I also had the panic button and I had the knife. Now the alarm.
I'd have gone with slamming the hatch down. Like, if you are in the process of climbing over, you're not getting over. Like, unless they all mob you. Like, if they all mob you, I mean, oh my god, what am I even imagining now? That's going to be a nightmare I don't want to fucking think about, isn't it? So I'm not going to think about it. We'll ignore that as a potential possibility. But I'm thinking, like, small hatch, slam it down, deal with the one that, like, they're not in a very, like, you've got all the ground, like, you know, you've got the solid ground there up on the, like, you smash them about, close the hatch, press the button. Probably press the button first. Or there's the other option, like I said, you know, you're not trapped, I'm not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me. Is like, you've opened up the door now, you've done that, maybe grab that one, drag them in, slam the hatch. Say, you've got this button, you've got 10 minutes to press it, because, like, I've got a great big boiling pot of XYZ over there. Like, I can do you one of those special eggs with the thing on it.
I went off one day, and we all had to go outside, and this was the first time that I was kind of with them. I went outside, and you tend to find that, because like I said, they weren't all paedophiles, but if...
They're all paedophiles. It's the fucking nonce house. Like, this... They're not all in prison for exactly the crime of paedophile, are they? Not every one of them, no, I guess. But, like, you don't know what they're all in prison for. So if it was me... Hang on, where's my background music gone? Where's my background music gone? If it was me, I would like rather just assume that they were all paedophiles and treat them all as such, because I don't know any of them and I'm not intending to get to know any of them. All I'm intending to do is just like cook the fucking waffles and leave. That's what they're getting today. Waffles. Cold bird's eye potato waffles. Come frozen, put in the microwave, slammed onto a tray, set out. I open the hatch, slide the tray under and slam it down. And they have to just fight for waffles. They can fuck off.
Child sexual offender was to go to a hostel, it would be this one. I went outside when this alarm went off, and you'd find that the sexual offenders would kind of be together. And almost like in prison, you had the non-child sexual offenders that would be on like the other side.
All right, fair play then if some of them are not. Fair play.
I want to go anywhere near him. And this guy was on his own, and he was like, I ain't going over there. I'm not going to sit in with them. I'm not going to sit in with them.
Absolutely.
And he was like, I can't believe I've been sent here. And you have to
question whether he is also one and he's just trying to like give you the impression that he's not.
You have to kind of feel a bit of sympathy for that.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you've committed a crime, so you're here for a reason, but nobody wants to be mixing with the child offenders. And he was pissed off.
Except apparently you. You're the... Don't start me. It's what he said earlier about, you know, talking to them earlier, didn't he? He was chatting to them and talking to them. That's all I meant. Again, like, okay, you've managed to get yourself outside with the general population here, and you're just the cook. But this is one of those jobs, I suppose, where I would, joking aside, I'd say if you're in this position, you would go in, you would not talk to anyone, you would do your job, and you would leave. And you would try not to make any sort of lasting personal relationship, not give out any personal information or anything at all to any of these people. You know, I'd probably wear a face mask, like hygiene, reasons, like a mask like that, like like for the, I'd probably wear something like that, and I'd just get on with my job, and like no one would talk to me. Like I said, in real. Not joking, I would do that thing with the hatch. Like, I might not just give them just waffles or whatever I'm obliged to cook them, I would cook. But I'm not going to be like spooning it on their plates and shit like that. And if anyone's got a problem with it, they can fucking sack me. I'll put the food out through the hatch. I'm not risking anything. They've got the food. Deal with it. Washing up's done by them in their rooms. I'm not going out there. Leave me alone.
He did not want to mingle with these people. There's some people that didn't come in the dining room at all because all of the child sexual offenders came in that dining room. There's no shame. They want their food. That's the most important thing.
I mean, there is shame. You mean they felt no shame, yeah?
There's no real shame about what they've done.
Yes, there is. I mean, are you saying they don't have shame or there is no shame? I wonder if he's choosing his words poorly or if I'm just getting the wrong end of the stick there.
Came in that dining room. There's no shame. They want their food. That's the most important thing. There's no real shame about what they've done, in my experience of the few months that I was there. But the normal offenders, the ones that hadn't abused a child, they rarely came in there. They didn't want to mix, which I fully understand. Who would? I was coming back in actually from this alarm, and this one guy said, "Your portion sizes are shit," which I didn't realise they were. But
what are you doing mixing? You're a member of staff and everyone is going back into this environment. So either you wait to the end and all walk in together as members of staff, or you all go in first. No, you can't do that, can you? You go in at the end, don't you, as a member? Like, everyone goes in, right? And then you sort of follow them in as a group, as a member of staff. Are you just mixing in with them now? Like, this was a naivety of Luke's. Like, I just, maybe it's just me and street Scotty, you know what I mean? But I would have just think, I'm not going to accidentally be in a corridor, like, bumbling along, like, in this situation myself, hopefully. And if I had to be, and they were like, okay, time for everyone to go in. In you go, Scott. In you go, Scott. You know, my boss or whatever. Or is he just the only member of staff on the scene because they only need a cook? I don't know what the setup's like, but I'd be like, no thanks, after you. No thanks, after you. No thanks, after you. And, like, you know, I'm not going to budge on that because it's basically my safety.
In that moment, and this one guy said, your portion sizes are shit.
I'd be like, you're a fucking child molester, so eat your fucking, you're getting nothing tomorrow. You see how you'll see my portion sizes tomorrow. I will deliberately, I'll spend all night if I have to cutting baked beans into tiny baked bean shapes. Tiny little baked beans. I'll spend all fucking night doing it if I have to. I'll cut tiny little French fries out of tiny little potatoes. They'll love it because they fucking like tiny things because they're pedos. But I'll give them a tiniest, I'll put it on a little mouse-sized plate like that. Little plate out of a doll's house. I'll do it like that. Plate it up on a doll's house. Little chips. Right, you're right, Minky. Little chips, little beans, like that. Little tiny little burger, little mouse-sized burger. And when he comes to the hatch, I'll fuck it in his face like that. I won't do any violence. I'm joking. It's a joke, but you know what I mean. I would smash the burger on the hatch. It's making me cross. Imagine being critiqued by a paedophile. Imagine being critiqued by a paedophile. I mean, I'm joking here because, like, you know, I'm critiquing Luke. I hope no one thinks maybe if he critiqued me, but imagine being critiqued by a paedophile. Yeah, I've been watching those miniature food videos again. I like them. Imagine being critiqued by a paedophile. What can you possibly want to critique me about? You're a fucking paedophile. I mean, the only thing you could possibly have any, you know, critique is giving me tips on I'm not noncing the kids enough or whatever. But obviously, do you know what I mean? Like, you're a paedophile in a prison situation. Like, eat your fucking dinner. What's Luke gonna say? I don't know. You know, me and my temper is not a big deal, to be honest. Right? I don't have like a big dangerous temper. Right? But me and my principles, that's a deal. So you know how I'm saying this now as an honest reaction. I probably wouldn't like cause any violence or anything, but I would say, hey, fuck you and your portion sizes. You're in here because you're a fucking... do you know what I mean? These words would be on my tongue. I'm shocked that they would do it as well. That you'd be receiving critique from pedos on your cooking. I mean, is your cooking that bad? Even pedos don't like it. Oh no, they said it was really good. They said his cooking was the best, didn't they? His was the best cooking. The pedos... Luke's burgers, as you know... quality control guaranteed, as approved by pedos.
They didn't want to mix, which I fully understand. Who would? I was coming back in actually from this alarm, and this one guy said, your portion sizes are shit, which I didn't realise they were. But in that moment, I didn't know what to say because I felt right in that moment that I was in prison, and you don't know how to react to that.
You fucking... how did you react?
So they said, are they? But I'll make it bigger for you, mate. On reflection, I think I did make them a little bit small. But it's...
You just kowtowed to the angry nonce. Are they? I'll do them bigger. Please don't hurt me. I mean, I don't care if I'm the biggest one, if they're bigger than me or whatever. We're walking in a corridor in an institutional environment. I'm assuming there's other staff members around. Like, I'm hoping I'm not the only member of staff on the scene here and just, you know, in this corridor, because I wouldn't go in the corridor. But I don't care about your opinions on the portion sizes because you've committed one of the most heinous crimes that I can think of. Like, not, yes, I'll make them bigger.
So I'll make it bigger for you, mate. On reflection, I think I did make them a little bit small. But it's a tough world to be in, that.
Yeah.
And you do have to be on guard. And
On guard in case someone asks you to make the portions bigger.
Praise to the staff, respect to the staff. They sit in an office, which is big office. The wall is full of cameras.
All right, so exactly, there are loads of other people there. There's security, right? So, you know, you're not under the same danger as you think you are. There's like a momentary danger that you could be overpowered briefly, and then like the staff would be in and on. And if there was a fire alarm, there's loads of other staff around, and they're probably still outside, not walking in with the nonces at the same time, like or waiting until the end, like I said, like in protocol. Oh my god. This has gone somewhere else tonight, hasn't it?
This, which is big office. The wall is full of cameras. Everywhere's always being watched. I did 3 months in these hostels. And a lot of people came through the door. Because obviously, like, they're only there for 3 months. And I did 3 months. So, as I got towards the end, everybody'd kind of gone, and then a new wave would come in, and I'd see the new people, and just focusing on this paedophile one. That's where I did most of my work, and that was where I got to learn.
Class of 96.
The most. And I almost treated it like
What do you mean I got to learn the most? This is the sort of thing that, like, I mean, obviously I'm not saying Luke's a paedophile, but you don't want to be on the internet saying that you've learned a lot of stuff from pedos. Like, it makes it sound like you're part of, like, some clandestine pedo ring and you've learned the techniques and secret tricks of the pedog, doesn't it? Instead of, like, whatever the fuck it is you meant about what you learned. What did you learn? I'm still a bit confused about what the message is here about what you learned.
Just focusing on this paedophile one. That's where I did most of my work, and that was where I got to learn the most. And I almost treated it like a psychology experiment.
Like a psychology experiment? What was the experiment? And whose psychology are you experimenting on? And what basis in psychology do you have? I literally showed you a proper sociology experiment earlier from Stanley Milgram. Where's the thesis? Did you write anything down?
Psychology experiment and education in how they are. Because what I had was a first-hand account of knowing why they're here and seeing how they operate, how they interact. And I'll reiterate once more, very charming, very friendly.
That's what he's like. Can it not be said that Luke himself is charming and friendly to his audience in the comments, in his community posts? Is Luke charming?
Very complimentary.
Let's get Rustic Rach to 1,000 subs. She's really brilliant. Very complimentary. He does that. He does that, doesn't he? Let's have just positivity on the channel. Let's all be positive. It's very complimentary.
Very nice on the face of it.
Yeah. Tick, tick, tick. Yeah.
You can see how children can get groomed. Scary.
Minky.
I went in, protected myself,
Minky.
Did my job. Didn't judge externally, although I had my thoughts. Made their meal.
What do you mean you didn't judge externally? What does that even mean? You had your thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Polite and not rude. At the same time, having my thoughts in my head and reserving myself.
Please, what are the thoughts?
At any minute, someone could jump over the kitchen. At one point, things go through your mind. Like, you think, what if they team up together and...
Yeah, definitely. And like this hatch and the size of the hatch is really important to me at this juncture. And I'm saying as well that I would have, like, countermeasures in place. I'd say no one's allowed to come near the hatch, like one at a time near the hatch for a start. Like, so you're only, like, you can queue, but you're only allowed to come one at a time to the hatch, yeah? Like, there's a simple rule. And if any more people start coming to the hatch, I'm immediately closing it. Bang, duck, like, closed. The hatch is not open while I'm cooking. The hatch is only open during service. One at a time close to the hatch. There's a simple setup, isn't it?
What if one of them goes and stands at the kitchen door, and then two of them jump through the hatch?
You had a bigger story to tell them, wouldn't you? Big ups, Ollie. I don't even know what that really means. But see what happens.
Thinking back now, you know, it's pretty scary, really.
Pretty scary, really. I just want to, yeah, whatever.
It is. Well, yeah, lesson learned for me is that you never really know who these offenders are. You can pass them in the street, you wouldn't really know about them. And charm...
Is that an embedded confession?
...is their number one tool. So I think that a lesson to take from it is, with our children, is to educate them on people that want to cause harm to them. You know, we don't want to scare them, but we need to educate them. People that want to cause harm, they rarely come aggressively. They rarely come scary. They rarely come intimidating. They come with a smile on their face, with charm, and with what seems to be like kindness.
That's you, Luke. That's my perception of you. You mean me harm, but you come with a smile on your face. The man wears a mask, but you don't see the knife. Like, the devil comes with his whispers, but you don't see the devil. The man comes with a knife, but you don't see the metal.
And that is what needs to be widely known about how they operate, and that is what needs teaching to children.
Ollie, you're right, because the overt sexual content of your messages will get you removed. It's not just a mistake in, you know, in the language there. It will get you removed, so you're welcome to stay, but the repeated use of the word cum is just distasteful, especially when we're talking about nonces in this way. So careful, like, you were a new chatter and you've jumped straight in with the hard, like, strange. So I get a funny vibe from you, so I'll just tell you straight, and then you've got time to, like, remedy that if you want, or don't.
Slowly and subtly, as they grow up. You can imagine the fear with children when they do get groomed, they do get sucked in, and they do get charmed, when the offender turns on them. How scary.
So you've learned about how to groom kids from the nonces, and now you think we should teach that to the kids so they don't get groomed by nonces. Got it.
That is. It probably is the worst crime. When I worked in child support, I know about children that have been groomed.
Yeah, which is why the lack of any emotion across your face here, like the sort of, like the lack of the, I'm getting a screenshot from this one, but the lack of like it feels like there's a real something missing vibe to this, like a sense of authenticity that, like, you just, as a human, you just, like, for me, like, someone asked me to do a body language read on these, and, like, you know, maybe I'll go back and do a body language read on them, but to me as a human, there's a sort of sense of authenticity that's missing.
And abused. It never ever leaves them. Some kids blame themselves. Innocence is stolen. And it causes all sorts of problems like drugs and alcohol and being promiscuous. Depression, anxiety, hating on yourself. I've had 2 experiences in the world of paedophiles and child abusers. I've worked with the children in the children's homes that have been abused and groomed. And I've worked in the prison halfway houses, the bail hostels, where the offenders do their probation. They're not nice experiences, but I feel like I'm better for them. I'm more educated for it.
These videos didn't show a massive sense of that, did they? They showed either extreme naivety or a sense of like inappropriateness and self-centeredness about the whole affair, in my opinion.
And I can use my channel now to try and, you know, share a bit of what I've learned with you guys.
Just did, yeah.
Anyway, that's my experience working in the bail hostels. If you do enjoy the content, hit like. Like just helps the video to get seen by more people. Leave a comment. I always like...
Talking about abuse and paedophiles is not going to get algorithmically suggested on YouTube. Like, you will be tough to fight the YouTube system with likes when we've just spent the last fucking... Like, how long have I been talking about this now? It's like 5 hours. We've just spent the last 5 hours talking about nonsense.
Interact and subscribe to the channel. Big month coming up. I've said it a few times now, but it really is a big month coming up for the channel. Keep an eye out for some big videos, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.
Peace out. Take a piece out of that and throw it in the bin. I'm not going to watch any more of him tonight, but like, who knows what's on the rest of them. I mean, that one does have Jimmy Savile as a thumbnail, so like, what's he like? How could like this is baffling me? Yeah, baffled is how can you go on and say like it's about professionalism, it's the worst crime, but you're just going to be professional, you're going to do your job, you know. And they were quite talkative, and we got chatting, and then used the picture of Jimmy Savile, and like Jimmy Savile's like the worst sex crimer. You know, he didn't even get caught for it, so he never went in the hostels. But like, you know, he's like the worst kind of horrible, evil sex crimer. Like, why are you using him on the thumbnail? What are you saying about the people that you worked with and fed? What are you saying about them? That they're all Jimmy Saviles, and that like I don't know how you connect the context of the Jimmy Savile thing. Big up, sorry. This is serious. Yeah, this is relatively serious, isn't it? I don't know why you keep using swear words in the thing, but like, this is relatively serious. Also, it's kind of funny as well, and it's fair comment on YouTube. If this man's going to make these videos and talk about these things, I'm fair to make what is reasonable comment on YouTube. I'm not wishing Luke any alarm or distress. It's not a harassment campaign against Luke. I don't even think Luke, you know, he doesn't need to watch this. This is going on my Twitch stream to my audience at quiet night time, and I'll upload it to YouTube, and it will go to my audience on YouTube, and Luke can choose not to watch it if he wants. I've never left him a comment on his stuff. I'm not leaving him any, you know, comments on his stuff now. I just watched that. I didn't leave him a comment. I'm not trying to harass him. So there you go. It turns out Luke's not doing anything tonight again. So, and I'm not on Luke watch. You know, obviously we're doing our own streams. This hasn't distracted me from the Nicola Bulley case. I do like to not just focus on that stuff all the time. So yeah, I can edit for the abrupt ending if you want. I can, like, because I don't think I did put a proper ending on it, you know. Do you want me to edit? Like, if you've enjoyed the show, then please consider giving me a tippy, you massive chuffer. You be good, man. I'm doing the end for the show. It's the end for everything now. I'll end this show with this, and then I'll cut this and put it on the back end if I can, maybe. So good night. You've been good. I will of course be back unless Peter Folding murders me for uncovering a sort of, you know, child trafficking ring or a helicopter drug smuggling ring or something. We did 6 hours 23. It's been good. I'm really grateful and happy. Expect to see me on Super Chuffer tomorrow, really. I've got to get my brain around doing the Nicola Bulley IOPC report, COP report or whatever. And that requires me to get a bit of a night's sleep, feel good about everything, and sit down and be like, right, let's do some work. You know, so right frame of mind for it. I look forward to seeing you there tomorrow on Super Chuffer. Be good, and if you can't be good, you notice.